In the shadow of history, there are secrets that refuse to be uncovered. Ancient cities buried beneath the sands, mysterious artifacts that defy logic, and monuments built with techniques that should have been impossible for their time. How did civilizations with limited tools and knowledge construct wonders that still leave us in awe? What are the hidden truths locked away beneath layers of time? These are the unsolved riddles of archaeology, enigmas so profound they challenge everything we think we know about the past. Join us as we uncover the bizarre, the unexplainable, and the impossible in our quest to understand what history still refuses to reveal. In the ancient hills of modern-day Palestine, nestled within the sprawling desert landscape, lies the site of one of the world's oldest inhabited cities, Jericho. But there is something particularly enigmatic about this place, a structure known as the Jericho Tower. Towering over the surrounding ruins, this massive stone edifice stands as an enduring witness to a distant past, a relic that has puzzled archaeologists and historians for over a century. The tower itself is simple in form, yet profoundly mysterious. Standing at nearly 30 feet tall, it rises from the earth in a circular shape, constructed from massive limestone blocks. Its base is set in a thick stone wall, which encircles a platform on which the tower rests. The structure was originally thought to have been a part of the city's fortifications, a necessary defense against potential invaders. Yet, as with much of Jericho's history, even this seemingly straightforward explanation becomes complicated upon closer inspection. Radiocarbon dating has established that the tower dates back to approximately 8,000 BCE, making it over 10,000 years old, an astonishing feat for a structure built at such an early point in human history. By comparison, this predates the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and even the first cities of Mesopotamia. The people who built Jericho's tower were still transitioning from a nomadic, hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a more settled existence. They had no written language, and their tools were rudimentary, crafted from stone and bone. What's more, there is no consensus on why this tower was built. Its sheer size and sophistication suggest a purpose beyond mere defense. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of ritual activity at the site, but nothing definitive that links the tower to religious practices. Some theorists speculate that the tower may have had astronomical significance, acting as an early observatory to track the movements of celestial bodies. Could it have been a guidepost for ancient travelers, a symbol of power and influence, or perhaps even a representation of something far more abstract, like the first stirrings of a collective human consciousness? There are those who argue that the tower was built for purely pragmatic reasons. Given its location at the edge of the Jordan River Valley, the tower could have been a lookout post to spot incoming floods or hostile forces. Others suggest that it may have served as a marker of social status, an early monument of wealth and prestige, visible to all who entered or passed through Jericho. And yet, none of these explanations fully satisfy the curiosity that this ancient structure provokes. As one digs deeper into the site, questions only multiply. The tower is part of a larger series of walls surrounding Jericho, a city that may have been fortified as far back as 9000 BCE. The complex network of walls and towers suggests a level of organization and technological advancement that seems ahead of its time. But if the Jericho Tower was part of a city's defenses, why build something so colossal and intricate? Why carve such large stones, and why dedicate such effort to creating a structure that, in all likelihood, could never have served as a practical defense against any sustained siege? Theories on the tower's true purpose have only grown more speculative over time. Some suggest that the tower might not have been built by humans at all, but by an earlier, lost civilization, far more advanced than the people of Jericho. Could there have been an unknown culture whose influence was wiped away by time, leaving only remnants of their presence? Or perhaps, as some fringe theorists propose, the tower was the work of beings far outside our understanding, ancient astronauts or supernatural forces. While these ideas are met with skepticism by the academic community, they nonetheless continue to capture the imagination of those intrigued by the unexplained. One thing is certain: the Jericho Tower remains a testament to a time when human beings were beginning to build structures that transcended mere utility. It reflects a nascent understanding of the world that was beginning to reach beyond the practical into the symbolic. And yet, as much as we have uncovered, the true reason for the tower's construction may always remain hidden, buried beneath layers of earth and time. What did the people of Jericho intend when they built this monumental structure? Was it a beacon of survival, a manifestation of cosmic belief, or a monument to something far more elusive, something we may never fully comprehend? The Jericho Tower stands as a silent guardian of the past, its secrets locked away, inviting us to look closer and ask, what if there is more to discover than we can possibly imagine? As we move further into the depths of ancient history, we find ourselves on the Mediterranean island of Malta, where the winds of time whisper through the remains of a forgotten civilization. Here, nestled in the quiet, rugged landscape, lie the Skorba Temples, a site that, like Jericho's tower, raises more questions than answers. The Skorba Temples are among the oldest freestanding stone structures in the world, dating back to around 3,600 BCE, far before the great Egyptian pyramids or the monumental ruins of Stonehenge. The temples are part of a wider network of Neolithic sites scattered across Malta, but Skorba is unique in its complexity. Carved from limestone, these structures rise from the earth like ancient sentinels, bearing witness to the island's earliest inhabitants. Yet despite their age, these temples have an enigmatic quality that still eludes modern understanding. From the moment you step onto the site, the air feels different, heavy with history, but also tinged with something else. The temples themselves, though weathered by thousands of years, are striking in their symmetry. Large stone blocks, some weighing several tons, form the walls and inner sanctuaries, their surfaces worn smooth by the passage of time. The most striking feature of Skorba is the use of massive, curved stones arranged in concentric circles, suggesting a deliberate architectural design that is far more sophisticated than one might expect from the Neolithic era. There is a sense of intent here, a vision that went beyond simple construction, as if the builders were working towards something greater, something we might never fully comprehend. The exact purpose of these temples has long been a topic of speculation. Some argue that they served as religious sites, places of worship where ancient rituals were performed. Evidence of animal bones and pottery suggests some form of sacrifice or offerings, but these findings alone do not tell the full story. Why go to such lengths to construct such complex, enduring buildings if their purpose was purely ceremonial? The stones themselves tell us little about the lives of those who constructed them. No written records have been found, and only fragments of their beliefs remain etched into the landscape. What then were these people hoping to achieve? For some, the answer lies in the stars. The alignment of the temples, particularly the entranceways, suggests that the builders may have been observing celestial movements. Could Skorba have been an astronomical observatory, an early attempt to map the skies and track the cycles of the sun and moon? The idea is not far-fetched. In other parts of the world, ancient cultures built monumental structures to align with celestial bodies, creating calendars or marking significant events like solstices and equinoxes. But is this the case with Skorba? Or is it possible that the true purpose of these temples transcended simple astronomy, extending into realms we can only guess at today? Some scholars suggest that the temples might have been centers of fertility worship, a common theme in ancient cultures. The Neolithic people of Malta were known to place great importance on fertility, not only in terms of agriculture, but also as a reflection of the cycles of life and death. Some of the stones at Skorba are shaped in ways that seem to echo this theme, rounded, smooth, and seemingly designed to evoke the form of a mother or a womb. Could these temples have served as symbols of life and death, honoring the cyclical nature of existence? Yet, as with many ancient sites, there is an undeniable sense of mystery that surrounds the purpose of the Skorba Temples. While the majority of archaeologists and historians lean toward the more conventional theories of religion or astronomy, there are those who argue that the site may have had a different, more profound purpose. Some fringe theorists speculate that the temples were not merely places of worship, but part of a larger network of ancient knowledge. Could Skorba have been a site of hidden wisdom, a repository of lost technologies or spiritual teachings? These theories often veer into the realm of the fantastical, but the mystery remains. Why go to such lengths to build such enduring, complex structures? As with other Neolithic sites, the evidence of the people who built Skorba is frustratingly sparse. No written language has been discovered, and the scant artifacts found at the site provide only a limited window into their world. Yet there is something about the scale and design of the temples that suggests these were not the work of simple tribal societies, but rather of a culture with a deep understanding of their environment and a profound connection to something beyond the material world. Could the builders of Skorba have known something we don't? Or was their knowledge limited to the world around them, their achievements an accident of history, lost and forgotten? The most perplexing aspect of Skorba is the complete absence of any indication of why the temples were abandoned. Archaeological evidence suggests that the site was in use for centuries, but by around 2500 BCE, the temples appear to have been abandoned without explanation. No records exist to explain this sudden cessation. Was it a shift in religious or societal practices? A disaster, natural or man-made, that caused the people to leave? Or did the meaning of the temples themselves change, and with it, the purpose for which they were constructed? Perhaps the abandonment of Skorba is the most telling aspect of the mystery. It's as if the builders of these remarkable structures knew that their time had passed, and with it, the knowledge they had worked so hard to preserve. Or perhaps, like so many other ancient sites, Skorba was left behind when its true purpose was no longer understood. Could it be that the mysteries of the past are simply waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves again? As the sun sets over the island of Malta, casting long shadows over the temple ruins, one can't help but wonder, what did the builders of Skorba truly believe? What knowledge did they carry with them into the shadows of history? And more importantly, what might still be hidden in the stones of these ancient temples, waiting for us to uncover? The answers remain elusive, but the questions are as pressing as ever. Nestled at the foot of the Zagros Mountains in modern-day Iran, the ancient site of Naqsh-e Rustam stands as a silent witness to a civilization long past, its secrets etched into stone, waiting to be discovered. Here, among the towering cliffs and the wind-battered ruins, are the monumental tombs and reliefs of Persia's most powerful kings, carved into the rock itself. At first glance, Naqsh-e Rustam may appear as nothing more than a regal necropolis, an ancient resting place for kings of the Achaemenid Empire. But as we delve deeper into this site, we begin to see something far more complex and far more mysterious than we could have imagined. The site is dominated by 4 colossal tombs, cut directly into the rock face, high above the valley floor. These tombs belong to the great Persian kings Darius I, Xerxes I, Artaxerxes I, and Darius II, each one an awe-inspiring testament to the architectural and artistic achievements of their time. The tombs themselves are simple in their design, massive rectangular niches, with doorways that lead into the mountain, where the royal bodies were laid to rest. Yet, despite their straightforward appearance, there is something almost otherworldly about the scale and precision of these tombs. The very fact that these kings chose to have their graves carved into the living rock raises an immediate question. Why was this particular location chosen, and what significance did it hold beyond a mere burial site? Surrounding the tombs are a series of intricate bas-reliefs, each one depicting scenes of royal conquest, divine approval, and triumph. The carvings are breathtaking in their detail, showcasing the divine authority of the kings over their vast empire. Among the most famous of these reliefs is the portrayal of the king's coronation, where he is shown receiving the blessing of Ahura Mazda, the supreme deity of Zoroastrianism. The symbolism is clear. The king is divinely appointed, his power not merely earthly, but sanctioned by the gods themselves. Yet, despite the grandeur and power suggested by these reliefs, there is an undercurrent of mystery that runs through Naqsh-e Rustam. The very nature of the tombs, carved into the rock rather than built with traditional materials, raises questions about the technological capabilities of the ancient Persians. How did they accomplish such an extraordinary feat with the tools available to them? And why go to the trouble of carving these massive tombs at such great heights, where access would have been difficult and dangerous? Was there a deeper, more spiritual significance to the location itself, or was it merely a demonstration of royal might? For some scholars, the answer lies in the symbolism of the mountain itself. The act of carving the tombs into the rock may have been a deliberate effort to link the kings to the eternal, a connection between the rulers and the divine forces believed to reside within the mountain. In many ancient cultures, mountains were seen as sacred places, a bridge between the earthly realm and the heavens. The idea that these kings, in death, would be entombed within the very heart of the mountain suggests that their power would transcend mortality, their spirits forever linked to the gods they revered. However, there are theories that delve even further into the mystery of Naqsh-e Rustam, ideas that suggest the site may have a connection to something even more ancient and more profound. Some theorists propose that the location was chosen because of its alignment with astronomical events or celestial phenomena. The positioning of the tombs, the angles of the carvings, and the mountain's relation to the surrounding landscape all suggest a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, perhaps even predating the Achaemenid Empire. Could the site have been a place of ritual or sacrifice, linked to astronomical cycles such as the solstices or equinoxes? Was there a more cosmic significance to the carvings and tombs, an effort to align royal power with the forces of the universe itself? Others point to the idea that Naqsh-e Rustam may have been built atop even older pre-Persian structures, an ancient site that predates the Achaemenid Empire by millennia. Some suggest that the tombs and reliefs were not simply the work of Persian rulers, but the continuation of a much older tradition, one rooted in a long-forgotten culture whose knowledge of the land and the stars far exceeded what is generally accepted. Was Naqsh-e Rustam simply a reappropriation of a sacred site? Or did the Persians have access to esoteric knowledge from an even earlier civilization? Despite the many theories, one thing remains clear. There is an undeniable air of mystery surrounding Naqsh-e Rustam. As impressive as the tombs are, they tell only part of the story. The true purpose of the site, and the full extent of its significance, remains shrouded in the fog of time. The kings of Persia may have intended for their tombs to immortalize their rule, but the very act of carving these monumental structures into the mountainside suggests that they sought something more, something that extends beyond mere political power or divine sanction. In the silence of Naqsh-e Rustam, as the sun sets over the Zagros Mountains, one cannot help but wonder, what lies beyond the tombs and reliefs hidden in the folds of time? Is there knowledge buried within the rock, waiting to be rediscovered, a forgotten legacy of ancient wisdom? Or is it possible that Naqsh-e Rustam holds within it an even deeper mystery, one that will forever remain out of reach, just beyond our understanding? The tombs stand resolute, their carvings watching over the land as they have for millennia. But the questions remain, questions about the true purpose of the site, its connection to the cosmos and the lost knowledge of ancient Persia. Perhaps, as with so many other archaeological enigmas, the answers will remain locked away in the stones of Naqsh-e Rustam, waiting for the next generation to look deeper, to question further, and to uncover what has been concealed for so long. As the mist rises over the Scottish Highlands, the Clava Cairns emerge from the dense heather and ancient stone. Here, amidst the rolling hills and the quiet solitude of the Cairngorms, lies one of the most enigmatic and atmospheric archaeological sites in all of Britain. The Clava Cairns are a group of prehistoric burial chambers, clustered in a remote valley near the River Nairn, and their mystery stretches back over 4,000 years to the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age. These cairns, large stone mounds, hold secrets buried beneath them, their true purpose and meaning still elusive despite centuries of study. The site consists of several cairns, each surrounded by circular stone settings known as standing stones. The cairns themselves are constructed from massive stones, some of which were carefully positioned to form chambered tombs. Inside these tombs, the bones of the dead were placed, often accompanied by artifacts, suggesting that these chambers were used for burial rituals of great significance. The cairns are aligned with the landscape in such a way that they seem to be part of a larger, purposeful design, though what that design was and why it was important remains a mystery. The most striking feature of the Clava Cairns is the arrangement of the standing stones surrounding them. These stones, which once stood tall, now lean and weathered, but they still form perfect circles or arcs that seem to connect the cairns to one another, creating a sense of unity and purpose. Some of the cairns have massive central stones, often called orthostats, which appear to have been deliberately positioned, suggesting that they may have held a symbolic or astronomical function. The overall layout of the site hints at a highly organized communal effort, one that likely involved a deep understanding of the land, the stars, and the spiritual world. It's easy to imagine the ancient people of the Highlands gathered here, not only to mourn their dead, but to perform rituals of remembrance, and perhaps to mark significant astronomical events like solstices and equinoxes. After all, the alignment of these cairns and stones is not entirely random. Some of the cairns are aligned to the rising and setting of the sun at certain times of the year, a feature that suggests a profound connection between the living and the cosmos. The standing stones, which were likely once taller and more imposing, may have served as markers for rituals that linked the cycles of life and death with the cycles of the earth and sky. Yet, even as archaeologists and historians have worked to piece together the function of the Clava Cairns, the site retains a deep air of mystery. Why were these particular locations chosen for burial? What role did the stones play in the ceremonies, and how were they constructed with such precision? The tools of the time would have been simple by modern standards, yet the construction of these cairns requires an understanding of geometry and astronomy that seems far ahead of what we might expect from prehistoric people. Theories abound as to the true purpose of the Clava Cairns. The most widely accepted explanation is that they were used for ritual burials, places where the dead were honored, and their spirits were sent on to the afterlife. Some believe that the cairns were part of a larger religious or spiritual system, designed to facilitate communication with the gods or the spirits of ancestors. The stones themselves may have served as symbolic markers, creating a bridge between the earthly realm and the spiritual world. In this view, the arrangement of the cairns and stones might represent the human journey from life to death, with the standing stones acting as sentinels to guide the souls of the departed. However, there are alternative theories that suggest a far more complex and mysterious purpose behind the cairns. Some researchers point to the possibility that the Clava Cairns were used as astronomical observatories or calendars. The alignment of the stones with the sun at certain times of the year suggests that they could have played a key role in tracking celestial events. Were these people observing the stars with such precision that they could predict solar eclipses or mark the exact timing of the solstices? Could the cairns have been part of a larger, lost system of prehistoric astronomy, much like the one at Stonehenge, which was built centuries later? Others have speculated that the Clava Cairns may have served a more esoteric function, perhaps connected to some form of ancient knowledge or spiritual practice that is now lost to us. Could the site have been a place where ritualistic or shamanistic practices were performed, a space where the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual worlds were blurred? Given the symbolic nature of the cairns and the standing stones, it's not hard to imagine a site imbued with supernatural significance, a place where the living could communicate with the spirits of the deceased, or the forces of nature itself. As intriguing as these ideas are, none of them can fully explain the mysteries of the Clava Cairns. For every answer provided, more questions arise. How were the people of this time able to organize the construction of such a sophisticated site without the advanced tools and knowledge we take for granted today? Why were these stones and cairns so carefully aligned, not just with each other, but with the sun, the moon, and perhaps even the stars? And why, after all these years, does this site still carry an air of such profound mystery? The true purpose of the Clava Cairns may never be fully understood. What we do know is that this place is more than just an archaeological site. It is a window into the lives and beliefs of the people who constructed it. The cairns, with their intricate stonework and carefully designed layouts, are a testament to a culture that was deeply connected to the land, to the heavens, and to the mysteries of the afterlife. As you stand among the weathered stones of Clava, it's impossible not to wonder, what knowledge did the people of this time possess, and how did they come to understand the world in ways that continue to defy our understanding? The cairns may be silent now, but the questions they raise are as alive as ever. Perhaps in time, the answers will come. Or perhaps, like so many ancient sites, the mystery of Clava Cairns will remain a quiet enigma, inviting us to look deeper, to question more, and to remember that there are still many things about the past that remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered. In the heart of Brittany, hidden deep within a tranquil forest, lies a site that seems untouched by the march of time. The Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées, or the Fairies' Rock, is an awe-inspiring megalithic structure that commands attention not only for its sheer size, but for the mystery it carries. It sits as a relic of a long-forgotten world, its massive stones silently guarding the secrets of an ancient people who left no written record of their lives. The dolmen, with its rough-hewn stones and deliberate alignment, raises profound questions about the people who built it and the reasons behind its creation. The dolmen is a burial chamber, but unlike many others of its kind scattered across Europe, it is vast in both scale and significance. Composed of 19 massive stones, it forms a corridor that leads to a central burial chamber, where the remains of the deceased were likely placed. The structure itself measures about 20 meters in length, making it one of the largest and most impressive of its kind. The stones used to build the dolmen weigh several tons each, and yet they were transported and arranged with remarkable precision. The sheer effort and organization required to build this structure raise immediate questions. How were these stones moved, and why was such a monumental effort devoted to this site? The Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées dates back to around 3000 BCE, placing it in the Neolithic period, a time when people were transitioning from hunter-gatherer societies to more settled agricultural communities. What's particularly striking about the dolmen is its placement within the landscape. The entrance faces a prominent natural feature, a large hill that rises in the distance, and the dolmen's alignment suggests a deliberate connection to the surrounding geography. Some scholars believe that the structure may have had an astronomical function, with its orientation aligning to the sun or the moon at key points in the year, perhaps marking significant solstices or equinoxes. This idea would not be unprecedented. Many other ancient sites, like Stonehenge, were built with similar astronomical considerations. Yet, despite these ideas, the true purpose of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées remains elusive. There is no concrete evidence to suggest that it was built solely for the dead. Could it have also served as a ceremonial or spiritual site? Perhaps a place for the living to commune with the ancestors or the gods. The placement of the dolmen, and its alignment with the natural landscape, hints at a more profound connection between the structure and the world beyond the material. Perhaps it was not just a tomb, but a sacred space, an intersection between the earthly realm and the supernatural. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées is its name, the Fairies' Rock. In Breton folklore, this place has long been associated with mystical stories of fairies and spirits. The very name suggests that this dolmen was not simply viewed as a tomb, but as a sacred space imbued with magical significance. Was it believed to be the dwelling place of the supernatural, a realm where the living and the dead could cross paths? Or was the dolmen itself seen as a portal to another world, a place where the veil between the physical and spiritual realms could be lifted? Local legends offer tantalizing hints. One tale tells of the dolmen being built by fairies themselves, who were said to be so powerful that they could lift enormous stones with ease. These fairies were believed to be protectors of the land, guarding the sacred places and ensuring that the spirits of the dead were respected. Could these stories be more than mere folklore? Could they contain a kernel of truth, an ancient understanding of the power and significance of the dolmen, passed down through generations in the form of myth? Interestingly, the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées is part of a wider network of megalithic sites scattered across Brittany, many of which share similar features. Some of these sites, like the Karnak stones, are aligned with celestial events, suggesting a broader cultural context in which these structures were built not just as tombs, but as focal points for a complex belief system. If the dolmen was indeed part of a larger religious or astronomical tradition, then the question arises, what was the nature of this tradition? Did it stretch beyond the borders of Brittany, forming part of a widespread European belief system? Or was it an isolated phenomenon unique to this particular region? Another intriguing aspect of the dolmen is the question of its construction. The stones used to build it are not local to the site. They were transported from considerable distances, some from over 10 kilometers away. This raises several questions. How were these massive stones moved with the limited technology available at the time? And why did the builders go to such great lengths to construct the dolmen? The logistics of moving and positioning these stones would have required a sophisticated understanding of engineering, and the effort involved suggests that this was a site of profound cultural importance. But was it simply a place of burial, or was it something more, a focal point for a society with advanced knowledge of both the material and spiritual worlds? Some archaeologists have speculated that the dolmen may have served as a center for ancestor worship, where the spirits of the deceased were honored in elaborate ceremonies. Others suggest that it could have been a site for agricultural rituals, with the cycles of the sun and moon playing a central role in the rituals performed here. Could the dolmen have been designed to harness cosmic forces, with the large stones acting as a sort of conduit for energy? Some have even suggested that the dolmen may have had a more practical function, perhaps even serving as a communal gathering place for feasts or other social events. But despite these theories, no definitive explanation has emerged. The presence of the dolmen, standing resolutely in the landscape, suggests a profound connection between the ancient people of Brittany and the world around them. Whether the builders of the dolmen were seeking to honor their ancestors, align themselves with the cosmos, or tap into a spiritual realm, we may never know. Yet, as we stand before this ancient structure, it's impossible not to feel the weight of history pressing down, as if the stones themselves hold secrets that are waiting to be uncovered. What, then, is the true purpose of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées? Was it merely a burial site, or was it a place of power, both physical and spiritual? And if this place held such significance, what does that say about the ancient people who built it? The mysteries of the dolmen remain as tantalizing as ever, offering us glimpses into a world that we can only begin to understand, inviting us to look deeper and perhaps uncover more of the stories that have been left behind in the stone. Tucked away in the rolling hills of County Meath, Ireland, the Loughcrew Cairns rise silently from the landscape, their weathered stones shrouded in mist and mystery. This ancient site, hidden within the expanse of the Irish countryside, consists of a series of burial mounds that have stood for thousands of years, their purpose and meaning only partially understood. While many might pass by this isolated place without giving it a second glance, those who venture closer find themselves confronted by a structure that seems to defy time and logic, a testament to the ingenuity and spiritual depth of the people who built it. The Loughcrew Cairns are not just isolated mounds of stone. They are a complex and deliberate arrangement of megalithic chambers. There are over 30 cairns spread across the landscape, and many of them are thought to date back to the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age, around 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. The cairns themselves are simple in appearance, constructed from large stone slabs and earth, but within their cores are chambers, deliberate, calculated spaces that were likely used for burial and ritual. The stones are often arranged in intricate patterns, suggesting that they were placed with care and purpose. It's clear that the builders had a deep understanding of both the physical world and the spiritual realm, and the cairns themselves may have been intended to serve as more than just tombs. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Loughcrew Cairns is their alignment. Like many ancient megalithic sites, the cairns at Loughcrew are strategically positioned to correspond with astronomical events, particularly the rising and setting of the sun. Cairn T, the largest and most famous of the mounds, has an internal chamber that is aligned with the spring and autumn equinoxes. At sunrise on these days, the light filters through a narrow passage in the cairn, illuminating the chamber inside. This kind of celestial alignment suggests a deliberate connection between the land, the people, and the heavens, a concept that was integral to many ancient cultures. But despite the astronomical significance, there is something elusive about the cairns at Loughcrew. These structures do not simply reflect the changing seasons. They seem to engage with something deeper, something more intangible. The alignment of Cairn T with the equinoxes raises questions about the ancient people's understanding of time and the cosmos. Were they simply marking the passage of the seasons, or did the cairns have a more profound function, one that may be tied to the cycles of life, death, and rebirth? Some believe that the cairns could have been used for ritual purposes, perhaps as places where people gathered to mark important events or transitions. Was this a sacred space where the living communed with the dead, or were the cairns part of a broader spiritual landscape, one that transcended mere burial? The chamber within Cairn T is not only significant for its alignment, it is also notable for the intricate carvings found on some of its stones. The carvings are simple, yet evocative. Spirals, swirls, and other geometric patterns etched into the surface of the stones. These markings appear to have been deliberate and meaningful, but their exact significance remains a subject of speculation. Some suggest that the carvings represent a form of early writing, or that they are symbolic representations of the sun, the moon, or other celestial bodies. Others propose that the carvings may be a form of ancient art, a means by which the builders of Loughcrew attempted to capture the essence of the world around them. Whatever their meaning, the carvings add another layer of complexity to a site that is already rich with mystery. While many mainstream archaeologists view the cairns as primarily ritualistic in nature, there are alternative theories that suggest a deeper, more elusive purpose. Some have proposed that the cairns at Loughcrew may have been part of a larger system of sacred sites, each one aligned with different astronomical events or celestial bodies. In this view, the cairns would have formed a network, with each one serving as a marker of specific cosmic occurrences, alignments that might have been used for more than just agricultural or ceremonial purposes. Could these cairns have been part of a larger cosmological system, a way for the ancient people to navigate the cycles of the heavens? Could they have been used for a form of celestial navigation, or even as a kind of ancient calendar that allowed the people to track the passage of time in a way that we have yet to fully understand? There are also more speculative ideas surrounding the cairns. Some fringe theorists suggest that the Loughcrew Cairns could have had a connection to an even older lost civilization, one that possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy and engineering. They point to the precision of the cairn's alignment and the complexity of its design as evidence that the people who built these structures were not simply early farmers and tribespeople, but were part of a sophisticated culture with knowledge far beyond what is commonly attributed to Neolithic societies. Could these ancient builders have had access to lost knowledge, secrets that were passed down through generations only to be forgotten over time? And if so, what kind of knowledge did they possess, and why did they go to such lengths to encode it into stone? Adding to the mystery is the lack of concrete evidence regarding the exact nature of the people who constructed the cairns. Like many prehistoric sites, Loughcrew offers little in terms of written records or direct evidence of its builders. The people who constructed the cairns left no inscriptions or documentation of their beliefs or practices, which leaves us to piece together their story through what remains in the landscape. And while it's clear that the cairns were built with great care, the specific motivations behind their construction are still largely unknown. Were the cairns simply a way to mark the final resting places of important individuals? Or were they part of a larger cultural or spiritual tradition that we have yet to fully comprehend? The Loughcrew Cairns remain one of Ireland's most enigmatic archaeological sites. As you stand before these massive mounds, the questions only multiply. What was the true purpose of these burial chambers? Were they simply places for the dead, or did they hold a deeper, more profound significance? And how were the ancient builders of Loughcrew able to align these structures with such precision, using only the rudimentary tools of the Neolithic period? Like so many other ancient sites, the cairns at Loughcrew seem to suggest a civilization that understood much more than we give them credit for. Their knowledge of the stars, of geometry, and of the natural world remains remarkable even by modern standards. And yet, the full extent of that knowledge and the meaning behind the cairns remains just beyond our reach. As the wind whispers through the stones and the sky above shifts with the passage of time, one can't help but wonder, what else remains hidden within these ancient mounds, waiting for us to uncover? And will we ever truly understand the full purpose of the Loughcrew Cairns, or will they remain a silent testament to the mysteries of a long-lost civilization? The answers may be buried deep within the stone, waiting for the right moment, or perhaps the right person, to bring them to light. Hidden among the rugged coastline of Brittany, France, lies one of Europe's most enigmatic prehistoric structures, the Cairn of Barnenez. This colossal burial mound, perched at the edge of a windswept peninsula, is a monument to a distant past, a place where ancient people sought to honor their dead, but also, perhaps, something more. At first glance, the Cairn of Barnenez might seem like just another megalithic structure, a mound of stones piled high over the course of millennia. But as you approach, and as you study its intricate design, something deeper stirs, a sense of mystery that refuses to be easily explained. The Cairn of Barnenez is one of the largest and oldest burial monuments in Europe, dating back around 6,000 years to the early Neolithic period. It spans over 72 meters in length and its height reaches about 8 meters, making it an imposing structure that dominates the surrounding landscape. What is most striking, however, is the complexity of the cairn itself. Unlike many other burial mounds, the Cairn of Barnenez is not a simple pile of stones, but rather a meticulously constructed series of chambers and passageways connected by narrow corridors that wind their way through the mound. Inside these chambers, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of dozens of individuals, along with an array of artifacts that suggest this site was not just a burial ground, but a place of ritual and significance. The cairn's design is remarkable in its sophistication. Unlike other burial mounds that were simply piled over a tomb, the Cairn of Barnenez was constructed with precision, with a carefully planned layout that suggests a deliberate architectural vision. The mound is composed of 2 distinct sections, each containing several chambers. Some of these chambers are so large that they could have held multiple individuals, while others are smaller, possibly reserved for more important or ceremonial burials. The entrance to the cairn is not immediately obvious, as it is hidden among the stones, but once inside, you are met with a series of passageways, each leading to another chamber. The layout of the cairn raises immediate questions. Why such complexity in a burial site? Was the site intended to be a final resting place for an entire community? Or was it a space reserved for the elite or those of special importance? The presence of carvings and intricate stonework inside the cairn adds another layer of intrigue. Some of the stones bear markings, spirals, geometric patterns, and even what appear to be symbols of a long-forgotten writing system. These carvings are not immediately comprehensible, and despite decades of research, their meaning remains a mystery. Could these markings be simple decoration, or do they represent a form of ancient communication, a way for the people who constructed the cairn to convey spiritual or cosmological ideas? If they are symbols, what were they trying to communicate, and who were they meant for? Given the scale and complexity of the cairn, it seems clear that the people who built it were not simply concerned with the practicalities of burial. They were engaged in something far more profound. The cairn's alignment with the surrounding landscape, for example, suggests that it may have been intended to connect the living with the natural and spiritual world. Some researchers believe that the cairn's design was aligned with celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun, or even the positions of the stars. If this is the case, it would suggest that the builders of Barnenez had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, a knowledge that far predates what we typically associate with early Neolithic societies. Yet, even with this understanding, questions remain. Why was such a monumental effort dedicated to the construction of the cairn? Was it simply a burial site for the dead, or did it serve another, more ceremonial purpose? Some scholars believe that the cairn may have been a place of ancestor worship, a space where the living could commune with their deceased loved ones. The presence of ritual artifacts, such as pottery, tools, and animal remains, suggests that the cairn may have played a role in complex burial rituals. Could it have been a place where sacrifices were made to appease the gods or to ensure a successful afterlife? The cairn may have served as a bridge between the realms of the living and the dead, a physical and spiritual conduit for the people who believed in the power of the ancestors. However, there are theories that go even further, suggesting that the Cairn of Barnenez may have served a more cosmological function. Some propose that it was not just a burial site, but a space dedicated to the observation of celestial events, or the cycles of nature. The cairn's alignment with the landscape suggests that it could have been designed to mark specific moments in the solar calendar, such as solstices or equinoxes. Could it have been a place for ritual observation of the heavens, where the movements of the sun and moon were studied and used to mark time? Did the builders of Barnenez have a more advanced understanding of the natural world than we give them credit for? As the years have passed, some have even suggested that the Cairn of Barnenez may have had connections to older, forgotten civilizations, cultures that existed long before the Neolithic people who built the cairn. The scale and complexity of the structure, coupled with the mysterious carvings, has led some to speculate that the cairn could have been constructed by a people who possessed knowledge that was lost to history. Could it have been the work of a civilization that had access to advanced engineering techniques, or perhaps even an understanding of the cosmos that we have only recently begun to understand? These ideas, while speculative, persist as part of the ongoing mystery surrounding the cairn. What adds to the mystery is the fact that the cairn was intentionally sealed off for many centuries. Over time, it was forgotten, its purpose and meaning lost to the sands of time. It wasn't until the 19th century that the Cairn of Barnenez was rediscovered, and even now, much of its story remains untold. The site's remote location, perched at the edge of the sea and surrounded by wild landscapes, only adds to its air of isolation and mystery. The cairn sits as a silent sentinel to a time long past, and as we gaze upon it today, we are left to wonder, what did the builders of Barnenez truly believe, and what knowledge did they hold? What was the true purpose of this monumental structure, and why was it constructed with such care and precision? The answers remain buried within the stones of the cairn, and perhaps, as with so many ancient sites, they will forever be just out of reach. But the Cairn of Barnenez stands as a testament to the enduring questions of our shared past, inviting us to look deeper, to consider the mysteries that still lie beyond our understanding, and to reflect on what might still be hidden, waiting to be discovered. Nestled on the island of Anglesey, off the coast of Wales, lies a site that whispers of ancient rituals, buried secrets, and a connection to the cosmos itself. Bryn Celli Ddu, a prehistoric burial mound, might appear at first glance to be another solitary mound of earth and stone, quietly weathered by time. But as the morning mist rolls over the site and the sun begins to rise, the cairn reveals a hidden depth that invites more than casual curiosity. This is no ordinary mound. It is a structure that seems, in every sense, designed to transcend the everyday, a deliberate alignment between the living, the dead, and the heavens. The name Bryn Celli Ddu translates from Welsh as Hill of the Dark Grove, a fitting moniker for a site that seems to hold an eerie aura, as though it is forever poised between light and shadow. The site consists of a large burial mound, or tumulus, surrounded by a ring of stones. While its shape is relatively simple, a round, earthen mound encircled by stone, the true mystery lies beneath the surface. For hidden inside the mound is a passageway that leads to a burial chamber, one that holds not only the remains of those who once lived, but also the weight of a complex, unfathomable story. This is a site where death, darkness, and the cosmos all intertwine. The construction of Bryn Celli Ddu dates back to around 3000 BCE, placing it squarely in the Neolithic period. As such, it is older than the iconic Stonehenge, yet it shares with other megalithic monuments a striking connection to the celestial. While many Neolithic burial sites across Europe were built with a focus on the dead and the afterlife, Bryn Celli Ddu's design suggests a deeper, more intricate understanding of the natural world. The chamber itself is aligned with the rising sun at the summer solstice, with light filtering through the passageway and illuminating the interior of the mound. This phenomenon is not a simple accident of placement. It suggests that the builders of Bryn Celli Ddu were aware of the solar movements and incorporated them deliberately into their design. Was this alignment a way to honor the sun, or was it part of a ritualistic belief system that tied the cycles of life, death, and rebirth to the movement of celestial bodies? Inside the chamber, archaeologists have found traces of cremated human remains, along with a variety of artifacts, pottery, tools, and animal bones, that suggest the site had a ritual significance far beyond mere burial. These offerings hint at complex burial practices, where the deceased were not just laid to rest, but were also accompanied by objects meant to aid them in the afterlife. The careful placement of these remains and objects indicates a high level of reverence and a belief in something beyond the physical world. But what did the people who built Bryn Celli Ddu believe in? What sort of spiritual or cosmic framework might have guided their rituals? The passageway leading into the mound is another key feature that raises questions. It is narrow, just wide enough for a single person to pass through, and it curves slightly as it enters the tomb. The walls of the passage are made of large stones, meticulously placed to ensure the passage remains intact after millennia. The narrowing of the passage suggests a deliberate choice, a symbolic journey, perhaps, from the material world of the living into the sacred space of the dead. Some believe that this passageway may have been designed to mirror the journey of the soul, guiding it from the world of the living into the afterlife, or perhaps into the presence of the gods. The design of the tomb suggests that it was not only a place of burial, but a portal, a place where the boundaries between life and death, between the earthly and the divine, could be crossed. Bryn Celli Ddu is not the only site of its kind in the British Isles, but it stands out due to its careful placement, its alignment with the sun, and the rich yet cryptic symbolism embedded within its structure. Its connection to the cosmos is undeniable, but there is still much we don't understand. Why was this particular site chosen? Why such an emphasis on solar alignment? Could the people who built it have been part of a wider cultural or religious system that spanned across Europe, linking other ancient sites in a grand yet lost cosmic map? The idea of a vast network of interconnected, astronomically aligned sites is not new. In fact, scholars have long speculated that Neolithic peoples had an advanced knowledge of the stars and celestial events, knowledge that we are only beginning to truly understand. If Bryn Celli Ddu was part of such a system, what did it signify? There are also theories that suggest Bryn Celli Ddu may have had a more complex spiritual or religious role. Some propose that the mound was a site for ancestor worship, where the spirits of the deceased were believed to linger in the afterlife, and the living would come to seek their guidance or blessings. The use of offerings, the careful alignment of the site, and the passageway that seemingly connects the living with the dead all suggest that this site was more than just a tomb. It was a space for communication with the beyond. Could the alignment with the sun at the summer solstice signify the resurrection of the dead or the return of the spirits to the world of the living? The passageway, leading to a chamber that would have been bathed in sunlight at a time when the sun's power was revered, hints at a complex belief system, one in which the sun, the dead, and the land itself were deeply intertwined. Was this sunlight meant to be a symbol of life's continuity? Was it a signal that the dead, though buried, were still connected to the living world, their presence lingering in the warmth of the sun? Or was it a reflection of an even deeper, more cosmic understanding of time, death, and the universe? Despite years of research and excavation, Bryn Celli Ddu's mysteries remain tantalizingly out of reach. The site has been carefully studied, its passageways mapped, and its celestial alignments observed, yet so much of its spiritual and cultural significance is still lost to time. The interpretations we have are based on fragments, small clues from the past that have been carefully pieced together, but the larger picture remains elusive. What did the people who built Bryn Celli Ddu truly believe? And how did they view their relationship with the natural world, the heavens, and the afterlife? Was the mound merely a tomb, or was it a cosmic symbol, a site where the cycles of life, death, and rebirth were enacted, celebrated, and understood? As you stand before Bryn Celli Ddu, feeling the weight of its ancient stones and the stillness of the surrounding landscape, it's hard not to wonder, what was the deeper significance of this site to those who built it? What do the sun's rays illuminating the tomb's interior truly mean? And what knowledge did the builders possess that we have yet to fully comprehend? The answers to these questions may never be fully revealed, but the mystery of Bryn Celli Ddu endures, inviting us to continue exploring, questioning, and searching for the truths that remain hidden in the shadows of the past. As the sun sets over the windswept plains of southern England, one of the most ancient and enigmatic monuments of the Neolithic period lies quietly beneath the fading light. West Kennet Long Barrow, an imposing burial mound, stretches across the Wiltshire landscape like a silent testament to a time long past. Set against the backdrop of the rolling hills of the North Wessex Downs, it commands a strange presence, both beautiful and unsettling. This massive stone structure, which once housed the remains of the dead, now stands as a portal to a distant, forgotten world. Its passageways, lined with ancient stones, seem to hold the weight of unspoken secrets, secrets that have lingered for millennia. The Long Barrow itself is a striking example of Neolithic engineering. It's a mound of earth and stone that measures around 40 meters in length and 5 meters in height, and it's aligned to the wider landscape in ways that suggest intentionality far beyond simple burial. The structure is made up of a series of chambers built with large stone slabs and connected by a central passageway. Originally, this passage would have been covered with earth, creating a long, serpentine shape that has been preserved, albeit partially, over time. But it is the barrow's internal design that continues to captivate the imagination. At the heart of West Kennet Long Barrow, a sequence of chambers, each one designed to hold the remains of the dead, stretches back into the depths of the mound. In the past, these chambers would have been sealed with massive stones, and inside, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of elaborate burial practices. Human remains, bones, and cremated ashes have been found within the chambers, alongside carefully placed artifacts, pottery, tools, and flints, suggesting that the people who built this tomb engaged in complex rituals surrounding death. But beyond these physical remains, there is a deeper, more elusive mystery, one that speaks to the spiritual and cultural world of the people who constructed this extraordinary monument. West Kennet Long Barrow is not an isolated structure. It lies within a landscape rich with other Neolithic monuments, including the nearby stone circles of Avebury and the famous site of Stonehenge. These connections are significant. The alignment of the Long Barrow, like many other megalithic sites, appears to be deliberate. Some have suggested that the barrow was constructed to be in alignment with certain celestial events, such as the setting sun during solstices or equinoxes. This raises immediate questions about the people who built it. Did they understand the movements of the stars and the cycles of the sun with the same precision that later cultures, such as the ancient Egyptians or Babylonians, would demonstrate? Was the positioning of West Kennet Long Barrow tied to the rhythms of the earth, a cosmic language that connected the dead with the heavens? The notion that this structure may have had astronomical significance is not entirely speculative. Scholars have long noted that Neolithic peoples across Europe were remarkably skilled in aligning their monuments with celestial events. But it's the specific role of West Kennet that adds an air of mystery. Was it designed as a place for ancestral worship? Were the dead placed here to ensure their alignment with the stars and the seasons? The precise function of the barrow remains unclear, but its connection to the wider landscape and its careful construction suggest that it was more than just a simple burial site. It was a place of deep spiritual importance, a site where the cycles of death and rebirth may have been reenacted in a ritualistic manner. The discovery of the remains inside the barrow provides another clue to its purpose. Excavations at West Kennet Long Barrow have revealed that, over the centuries, the tomb was reused. This practice of secondary burials, where bones from earlier burials were moved or reburied, suggests a reverence for the dead that went beyond a single generation. It indicates that the barrow may have been considered a sacred place for many families or communities, with the dead continually returning to be honored in an ongoing ritual. Some archaeologists believe that the barrow may have served as a communal mausoleum, where the ancestors were kept in perpetual memory, and where their spirits were believed to remain active, guiding and protecting the living. However, this focus on the dead, on ancestor worship and the physical remains, does not fully account for the broader significance of West Kennet Long Barrow. There are theories that suggest the barrow may have been more than a burial site. It may have served as a kind of gateway to another world. The passageway that runs through the barrow, like other similar monuments, might have been symbolic of a journey from the physical world to the spiritual realm. In some traditions, passageways or doors represent thresholds between realms, and the Long Barrow's design could have mirrored this concept, a physical space through which the soul of the deceased would pass to join the ancestors in the afterlife. Could this passageway have been a ceremonial route for the living to follow too? Could the barrow have been a site where the living came to commune with the dead, walking through its sacred halls to seek counsel or blessings? There are also some more speculative theories about the barrow's role, some of which delve into the mystical and the cosmic. One such theory suggests that the barrow could have been part of a larger, lost tradition of cosmic worship, where the movements of the stars and planets were not only understood, but revered. Some have even proposed that West Kennet Long Barrow, like other Neolithic sites, may have been part of a wider network of sacred geography, with monuments aligned not just with the sun and moon, but with constellations and other celestial features. Was the barrow part of an ancient map of the heavens, a place where the dead could be reunited with the stars themselves? Another tantalizing idea is that the chambered tombs of West Kennet Long Barrow could have served as places of initiation or transformation. Could the people who built the barrow have believed that passing through the barrow's dark passageway was a rite of passage, an experience that prepared them for their eventual death? Perhaps the barrow was a place where the dead were not only honored, but where the living could prepare for their own journey into the next life, symbolically aligning themselves with the celestial forces that governed existence. As we stand before the monument today, with the wind howling through the Wiltshire landscape, it's difficult not to feel the weight of its history pressing down. The mysteries of West Kennet Long Barrow are still, in many ways, unsolved. Its precise purpose, the full scope of its spiritual meaning, and its connection to the greater Neolithic world all remain open questions. We can surmise that it was not merely a burial site, but something more, a place where life, death, and the cosmos came together in a sacred union. What we know is that, for the people who built it, West Kennet Long Barrow was far more than just a mound of stones. It was a place where the dead were kept, where they were revered, and where the cycles of time, nature, and the heavens all converged. But as with so many ancient sites, the full story is locked within the stones, waiting for the right discovery, or perhaps the right insight, to bring it fully into the light. The questions linger like shadows at dusk. What was the true purpose of this long barrow? Was it a cosmic portal, an ancestor shrine, or something entirely different? And what might still be hidden within its chambers, waiting to be uncovered? The journey to understanding West Kennet Long Barrow is far from over, and the answers, if they exist, may still lie buried beneath the earth. Nestled in the mist-covered hills of Galicia, in the far northwest of Spain, lies a site that once formed the heart of an ancient settlement, Castro de Santa Trega. Perched high above the landscape, this hill fort offers a panoramic view of the surrounding valley, the river Minho winding through the fertile land below, and the distant coastline where the Atlantic Ocean meets the rugged Spanish shore. The ruins here, though weathered by time, still hold a quiet, commanding presence, an enigmatic echo of the ancient civilization that once thrived on this land. The site itself is a sprawling complex of stone walls, circular houses, and narrow alleys that crisscross the hillside. What remains today is a fraction of what once stood. In its prime, Castro de Santa Trega was a bustling settlement, a fortified city belonging to the Galeci, a Celtic people who occupied the northwest of the Iberian Peninsula long before the Romans arrived. The ruins suggest a sophisticated and organized society, one that had mastered the art of building in a landscape that demanded resilience and innovation. But despite the vast knowledge we've gained about the Galeci, much about Castro de Santa Trega remains cloaked in mystery. One of the most striking features of the site is its layout. The settlement is designed in a way that seems to suggest both practical defense and ceremonial importance. Its walls, made of large stone blocks, form a protective ring around the settlement, with well-planned entrances and narrow passageways. The circular houses, known as horeos, were made from stone and wood, with roofs that would have been steep and protective against the elements. The residents here had to adapt to their environment, building homes that could withstand the harsh winds and damp climate of this coastal region. The walls of the fort are fortified with large, strategically placed boulders, some weighing several tons, giving the impression of a people capable of immense engineering feats. Their defensive strategy was not only about protecting against invaders, but also about integrating with the land itself. The fort was built on a hilltop, with a natural vantage point that allowed its inhabitants to monitor their surroundings, keeping an eye on any potential threats that might come from the river or the sea. Yet, even with all this knowledge about the site's practical uses, there are elements about Castro de Santa Trega that continue to defy simple explanation. Archaeological excavations have unearthed a number of intriguing artifacts at the site. These include pottery, tools, and even some remnants of a rich spiritual life, small figurines and sculptures, many depicting deities or spirits. These objects suggest a society deeply connected to both the material world and the spiritual realm. But what stands out most are the large, mysterious stone structures scattered across the site. While many are thought to have been houses or storehouses, others are arranged in ways that suggest they may have had a ceremonial or religious purpose. Some researchers speculate that these structures were places of ritual, possibly serving as altars or temples to honor the gods of the Celtic pantheon. But there is no consensus on this. What were these sacred spaces meant to represent, and why did the Galeci invest so much effort into building them? Another question that looms large over Castro de Santa Trega is the purpose of the hilltop itself. The location is not just strategic in terms of defense. It also suggests a deeper, more symbolic significance. Some archaeologists have posited that this was a sacred site long before the Galeci made it their home. The hill may have been a place of worship or ritual even in prehistoric times, long before the Celts arrived. Could it have been a site where the Galeci believed they were closer to the gods, where the physical world and the spiritual world overlapped? The Galeci were known for their reverence of natural forces, storms, rivers, trees, and it's possible that the site was chosen for its proximity to the natural world, as if the hill itself had been imbued with spiritual power. The site's connection to the cosmos is another area of speculation. Some have suggested that Castro de Santa Trega may have been aligned with specific celestial events, much like other ancient Celtic sites across Europe. Could the Galeci have designed their settlement with the sun, the moon, and the stars in mind? Perhaps the fort's positioning on the hill was not just a defensive measure, but also a way to connect their daily lives with the larger cycles of the natural world. Was the settlement built with a deeper understanding of the movement of the stars? And if so, what purpose did that knowledge serve? Did the people of Castro de Santa Trega see themselves as participants in a grand cosmic cycle, where the changing of the seasons and the positions of the stars were integral to their identity and rituals? Despite the many excavations and scholarly interpretations of the site, much about Castro de Santa Trega remains unanswered. In addition to its uncertain spiritual significance, there are questions about its eventual decline. By the time the Romans arrived in the Iberian Peninsula, the settlement was already in decline. Was the fort abandoned because of external pressures, such as Roman conquest, or did internal factors, such as shifting trade routes, environmental changes, or political upheaval, contribute to its fall? The Romans certainly had a profound influence on the region, but evidence suggests that the Galati were never fully conquered in the way that other Celtic tribes were. Instead, they were absorbed, slowly integrating into the broader Roman world. Was Castro de Santa Trega abandoned before the Romans could fully establish their dominance, or did the Galati simply abandon the site as part of a larger shift in their way of life? Interestingly, Castro de Santa Trega's legacy is not entirely lost to time. The site continues to capture the imagination of locals and visitors alike, and its history is still very much alive in the folklore of Galicia. According to some local legends, the hill is haunted by the spirits of the ancient Galati, who still guard the site. These stories suggest a deep, enduring connection between the land and the people who once inhabited it, a connection that transcends history and resonates with the community to this day. But even with these lingering stories, the true nature of Castro de Santa Trega remains elusive. What was its spiritual significance? How did its inhabitants view their relationship with the land, the cosmos, and the gods? Was it a fortress for the living or a sanctuary for the dead? And, most intriguingly, why did the Galati invest so much energy into creating such a remarkable site, only for it to be abandoned long before the Romans could claim it? As we stand among the stones of Castro de Santa Trega, gazing out over the valley and the distant coast, it is impossible not to feel a sense of wonder and awe. The mysteries of this ancient site remain tantalizingly unresolved, leaving us to wonder what secrets are still buried beneath the earth. What might still be hidden here, waiting to be uncovered? Tucked away in the serene hills of Pembrokeshire, Wales, lies one of the most striking and enigmatic megalithic structures in the British Isles, Pentre Ifan. The site consists of a single massive dolmen, its weathered stones rising against the horizon like a silent sentinel to the past. Standing alone in the open landscape, the dolmen's grandeur and isolation make it seem as though it has always been part of the land, as if the very earth has molded itself around the stones over millennia. Yet, despite its age and the knowledge we've gained about the people who built it, Pentre Ifan remains a puzzle, its true purpose and meaning still slipping through our fingers like the mist that often clings to the valley below. At first glance, the dolmen is a simple structure, a large flat capstone, some 16 feet long and weighing several tons, resting on the shoulders of 3 enormous upright stones. These massive supports hold the capstone aloft, creating an open, chamber-like space beneath. The whole structure forms a sort of table of stone, an arrangement that is both awe-inspiring and mysterious. Surrounding the dolmen are the remnants of other stones, suggesting that this was once part of a larger complex, though much of it has been eroded by time. The monument's position is just as striking as its form, perched on a hill with sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, rolling fields, distant mountains, and the coastline that stretches into the horizon. Pentre Ifan dates back to around 3,500 BCE, placing it firmly within the Neolithic period. This was a time when early farming communities were beginning to emerge, and the first monumental structures were being built across Britain and Europe. While the dolmen is similar to other burial sites found in the British Isles, its location, size, and the arrangement of its stones set it apart. The purpose of such monuments during this period is widely believed to be connected to death and the afterlife, serving as tombs or ceremonial sites for the ancestors. Yet even with this general understanding, Pentre Ifan continues to defy simple explanation. Was it just a tomb? Or was there something deeper at play, a connection between the living, the dead, and the cosmos? What strikes most visitors to Pentre Ifan is the monumental scale of the stones themselves. The capstone, which has survived thousands of years of harsh weather and erosion, is so large that it almost seems impossible for ancient peoples with limited tools to have moved it. The upright stones are similarly massive, standing in perfect alignment with each other, creating a sense of intentionality in their placement. How were such enormous stones transported and set into place without the advanced technologies we might assume were necessary? While it is clear that the builders were skilled engineers, using rudimentary tools and techniques, the sheer effort involved in constructing such a site raises an intriguing question. Was there something more to the dolmen than just its physical construction? Could there have been a ritual or symbolic significance attached to its very size and shape, something that transcended practical considerations? The alignment of the dolmen is another feature that points to a deeper, perhaps cosmic, meaning. Like many ancient structures, Pentre Ifan's placement seems to have been carefully chosen to align with celestial events. The capstone is positioned in such a way that it frames the setting sun on certain days of the year, casting light through the open space beneath it. Could the builders have designed it this way intentionally, creating a powerful connection between the earthly and the celestial? Some researchers have speculated that the dolmen may have been used for ceremonial purposes, with the setting sun representing the journey of the soul to the afterlife, or perhaps marking the changing of seasons and the cycles of life and death. However, this alignment with the sun raises more questions than answers. What was the significance of these solar alignments to the people of Pentre Ifan? Were they observing the sun in the same way that other ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians or the Mayans, used celestial events to mark the passage of time or to structure their religious practices? The idea that these Neolithic people had a deep understanding of the natural world, using astronomy to guide their rituals, is compelling, but we still know so little about their beliefs. What was it about the setting sun that held such meaning for them? And how did it relate to their concepts of death, ancestry, and the afterlife? While the celestial alignment is intriguing, some archaeologists suggest that the purpose of Pentre Ifan was not simply to mark the seasons or honor the dead, but to create a ritual space that facilitated a deeper connection with the world beyond. The dolmen's size and the deliberate arrangement of the stones might have been intended to create a space where the living could interact with the spirits of the ancestors. Perhaps the people who built Pentre Ifan saw it as a kind of doorway, a portal that connected them to the spiritual realm, a place where they could commune with the dead. The dolmen, with its open, almost otherworldly space, may have been seen as a threshold between the mortal world and the afterlife. There is also the possibility that Pentre Ifan served a dual function, both as a burial site and as a place for ritualistic ceremonies. Its open space and imposing structure suggest that it could have been used for larger communal events, perhaps involving the whole community in acts of remembrance or worship. Were the dead buried nearby, within the chamber, and did the living come here to perform rites or celebrations in honor of their ancestors? And what role did the surrounding landscape play in these rituals? The dolmen's position on a hilltop suggests that the people of Pentre Ifan believed in the importance of connection with the wider world, a belief that extended to the natural and spiritual realms. The mystery of Pentre Ifan also extends beyond its function as a burial or ceremonial site. The site's relationship to the surrounding landscape is puzzling. What was it about this specific location that made it the ideal place for such a monument? Was there something sacred about the hill itself? Some have speculated that the site may have been chosen because of its proximity to natural features, like water sources or prominent geological formations, which ancient people often considered imbued with spiritual significance. Could it be that the builders of Pentre Ifan saw the hill as a nexus point, a place where earth and sky met, and where the living could commune with the divine? There are no written records to provide definitive answers to these questions, leaving us to piece together the purpose of Pentre Ifan from the stones themselves, the surrounding landscape, and the few artifacts that have been uncovered at the site. Over the years, archaeologists have discovered evidence of tools, pottery, and other objects that suggest the site was visited and used over many generations. These findings hint at a long and deep reverence for the dolmen, but they also suggest that there is more to discover, more to understand. As we stand before Pentre Ifan today, its massive stones still standing tall after thousands of years, we are left with a sense of awe and wonder. The site's purpose remains shrouded in mystery, its true meaning slipping just beyond the reach of our understanding. What knowledge did the people who built it possess? How did they view the cosmos, and what did the setting sun represent to them? Was this monument a testament to their understanding of death, the afterlife, and their place in the universe? Or was it something more? A bridge between the living and the spiritual, an enduring symbol of connection to the divine. As the sun sets over the hills of Pembrokeshire, casting long shadows across the stones, it seems that the mystery of Pentre Ifan is far from being solved, and perhaps in that mystery there is a deeper truth, one that continues to elude us, hidden in the quiet, ancient stones of the Dolmen. Deep in the heart of Orkney, an archipelago in northern Scotland, lies one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring sites of the Neolithic world, Maeshowe. Nestled amidst the sweeping moors, where the wind howls and the sky seems to stretch endlessly in every direction, Maeshowe's ancient silhouette stands out, its vast mound rising from the earth like a forgotten sentinel. On the surface, it may appear as nothing more than a large, unassuming earthwork, but beneath the surface, the secrets it holds are anything but ordinary. Maeshowe is a passage tomb, a structure built around 5,000 years ago during the late Neolithic period. Its imposing stone walls and chambered interior suggest a people of exceptional skill and vision. The site is part of a broader complex of monuments on Orkney, a place that seems to be a hub of ancient activity. Nearby are the famous stone circles of Ring of Brodgar and the standing stones of Stennis, sites whose alignments and construction still puzzle archaeologists today. But it is Maeshowe, with its massive, precisely laid stones and mysterious internal features, that remains one of the most captivating enigmas of the ancient world. When you approach Maeshowe, it's impossible not to be struck by the size and solidity of the structure. Unlike the more ephemeral earthworks that have been lost to time, this tomb has endured, its stone walls still standing strong after millennia of weathering. The tomb itself is accessed via a narrow passageway that leads into a large central chamber. Inside, the chamber is surprisingly spacious, with walls lined with massive slabs of stone. These stones, each weighing several tons, fit together with remarkable precision, forming a structure that feels both solid and ancient. And yet, despite its imposing size and durability, there is something unsettling about the tomb's interior, an eerie quiet that seems to linger in the air, as though the past has left a deep imprint on this place. Archaeologists have long been fascinated by Maeshowe, but the tomb's purpose remains open to interpretation. Like many Neolithic burial sites, it was likely used as a tomb for important individuals, possibly a chieftain or high-ranking members of society. The body of the deceased, or perhaps their cremated remains, would have been placed within the chamber, and the tomb would have served as a final resting place. The careful construction of the chamber, with its elaborate passage and heavy stone-built walls, suggests that it was intended to honor the dead in a significant way, likely reflecting the spiritual beliefs of the people who built it. However, it is the tomb's precise architectural features that continue to spark intrigue. One of the most famous elements of Maeshowe is its alignment with the winter solstice. Each year, on the shortest day of the year, sunlight pours through a small opening above the entrance, casting a beam of light deep into the heart of the chamber. This solar alignment raises immediate questions. How did the builders of Maeshowe, with their rudimentary tools and limited knowledge of the world beyond their immediate surroundings, possess such an intricate understanding of astronomy? Was the tomb designed as a celestial observatory of sorts? Or was it, as some have suggested, part of a larger system of cosmic rituals, where the alignment with the solstice played a key role in the society's beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife? The precision of the tomb's alignment is one of the most compelling features of Maeshowe. Ancient cultures across the world have demonstrated an extraordinary understanding of the stars, the sun, and the moon, and the Neolithic people of Orkney were no exception. Maeshowe's alignment with the solstice raises questions about the level of astronomical knowledge possessed by its builders. Did they track the movements of the sun, moon, and stars in the same way that the ancient Egyptians, the Babylonians, or other early civilizations did? Or was there something more to the alignment, something we have yet to fully understand? In addition to its celestial features, the interior of Maeshowe contains another fascinating element: a series of intricate carvings that adorn the walls of the chamber. These carvings are not random. They appear to be deliberate and meaningful. Some of the symbols resemble abstract shapes, while others appear to depict animals or human figures. But what do these carvings mean? Are they purely decorative, or do they hold deeper significance? Some researchers have suggested that the carvings may represent a form of writing or a symbolic language, one that may have been used to communicate with the gods or to document important events. Others believe the carvings could be related to the funerary practices of the people who built Maeshowe, perhaps symbolizing the journey of the soul or the passage from life to death. The discovery of Viking graffiti within Maeshowe only adds another layer of intrigue to the site. In the 12th century, when the Vikings were active in Orkney, a group of Norsemen took refuge within the tomb. During their stay, they etched a series of runic inscriptions into the walls, some humorous, some mocking, leaving behind a direct connection to a time long after the tomb's original construction. The Vikings' markings serve as a reminder that Maeshowe, like many ancient sites, has been part of a living history, continuously touched by human hands over the centuries. But what were the Vikings' motivations for carving their names and messages inside this ancient tomb? Were they merely using the tomb as a shelter? Or did they recognize Maeshowe's importance and seek to make their mark on a sacred space? Beyond the well-known features of Maeshowe, there are still many mysteries surrounding the tomb. Some have speculated that it was part of a larger network of tombs and ceremonial sites on Orkney, all connected by a shared belief system or a complex understanding of the cosmos. Others have suggested that Maeshowe, with its large chamber and imposing architecture, may have served as a meeting place for important rituals, perhaps even as a location for political gatherings or social ceremonies. And what of the large, expertly crafted stones that make up the tomb structure? How were they transported from distant quarries to the site, especially considering the limited technology of the time? Perhaps the most intriguing question surrounding Maeshowe is what else might still lie hidden beneath the earth. Despite decades of excavation and research, much of the site remains unexplored. Could there be more chambers, other carvings, or even undiscovered artifacts beneath the mound? As with many ancient sites, the potential for further discoveries remains tantalizingly high. What other clues could Maeshowe hold about the people who built it, their beliefs, and their understanding of the world? As we stand before Maeshowe today, the unanswered questions linger in the air, like the wind that sweeps across the Orkney Islands. The tomb's design, its astronomical alignments, its carvings, and even the Viking graffiti, all of these features offer glimpses into the past, but they do not provide a complete picture. The true meaning of Maeshowe remains just out of reach, as if the tomb itself is holding its secrets, waiting for the right discovery or insight to bring them into the light. In the end, Maeshowe is more than just a relic of a bygone era. It is a reminder of how much we still don't know about the ancient world. As we continue to explore and unearth its mysteries, one thing remains certain. The more we learn, the more we realize that the questions surrounding Maeshowe and the people who built it are far from being solved. What knowledge was contained within these walls, and how much of it has been lost to time? Perhaps, as with many ancient sites, some mysteries are simply too vast to ever fully understand, and that in itself is part of the allure. Not far from the coast of Brittany, France, on the small island of Gavrinis, lies one of the most enigmatic megalithic sites in Europe, an ancient tomb that has confounded archaeologists and historians for centuries. Gavrinis is an isolated place, framed by the restless waters of the Gulf of Morbihan. The island itself is a quiet sanctuary, its rolling hills and windswept landscape holding a secret that stretches back more than 6,000 years. At first glance, the tomb on Gavrinis might seem like just another passage grave, a burial mound typical of the Neolithic period. But the more closely one examines it, the more it becomes apparent that this is no ordinary site. The tomb, known as the Gavrinis Passage Tomb, sits at the heart of the island, partially covered by a massive cairn of stones. Its entrance, marked by two upright slabs, leads into a dark, narrow corridor, one that opens up to a large central chamber. The structure is simple in form, yet its precision and the care with which it was built suggest something more significant than mere burial. Inside the tomb, the stones are adorned with intricate carvings, patterns that seem to ripple and twist across the surfaces like a form of language or communication, though no one has yet been able to decode their meaning. These carvings, spirals, crosses, and other geometric shapes, are etched into the walls of the passage and the chamber, creating a striking contrast to the rough exterior of the tomb. The workmanship is incredibly sophisticated for its time, and the effort to carve such detailed symbols into solid stone raises immediate questions. What were the people of Gavrinis trying to communicate, and why invest so much energy into a structure that was, after all, intended to house the dead? The tomb at Gavrinis is a prime example of the Neolithic architectural tradition known as passage graves, structures where a long passage leads into a central burial chamber. These types of tombs are found across Western Europe, from Ireland to Scandinavia, yet few are as well preserved as the one on Gavrinis. But what sets Gavrinis apart from others is the remarkable craftsmanship of its carvings. Unlike the more common motifs found in other Neolithic sites, simple geometric shapes or abstract forms, Gavrinis's carvings are intricate and highly deliberate, resembling a form of symbolic art that suggests a more complex belief system than simple burial rites. There are many theories about the purpose of these carvings. Some suggest they represent a form of early writing, a precursor to the alphabet that would not appear for millennia. Could the carvings at Gavrinis be an ancient language, encoded in stone for posterity? Others have speculated that the symbols may have had a more spiritual or ceremonial meaning, perhaps invoking the power of nature or the cosmos. The spirals, for example, are often interpreted as symbols of eternity or the cycles of life and death. In a place of burial, the carvings may have symbolized the journey of the soul or the rebirth of life after death. Despite extensive research, no conclusive interpretation has been found. Some suggest that the carvings may be a form of ancestor worship, meant to honor the dead and ensure their continued presence in the afterlife. Others have proposed that the carvings represent a form of territorial marking or ownership, an attempt to communicate the sanctity of the tomb and its surroundings. But the lack of definitive answers leaves the site cloaked in mystery. What were the builders of Gavrinis trying to express through these symbols? And why do these carvings seem so deliberately designed to resist easy explanation? The tomb's construction also raises intriguing questions, The stones used to build the passage tomb were sourced from the surrounding islands, but how were they transported across the water to Gavrinis? While the Neolithic people of Brittany were undoubtedly skilled in the use of simple tools and techniques, the scale of the task seems almost beyond the capabilities of their time. Could there have been a more advanced understanding of engineering, or did the builders possess some lost knowledge that has since been forgotten? Another compelling feature of Gavrinis is its location. Situated on an island, the tomb is isolated from the mainland by the waters of the Gulf of Morbihan, yet it is clearly connected to a larger network of megalithic sites found across Brittany and western France. The region is dotted with menhirs, dolmens, and stone circles, ancient structures that speak to a complex and deeply spiritual culture. Were these structures part of a broader ceremonial landscape, one that linked the living with the dead and aligned them with the forces of nature? Could the builders of Gavrinis have chosen the island for its specific geographic and symbolic significance? Perhaps as a place where the boundary between the living world and the spiritual world was especially thin? The tomb at Gavrinis is not the only structure on the island. There are other stones scattered across the landscape, remnants of a once vibrant megalithic site, though much of the evidence has been lost to time. Some archaeologists believe that the island may have been a center for ritual or pilgrimage, attracting people from the surrounding areas to participate in ceremonies and rites related to the afterlife. The placement of the tomb, with its precise alignment and positioning on the island, suggests that the builders may have had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy or the movement of celestial bodies. Some researchers have even suggested that the tomb's entrance may align with the setting sun or other celestial events, suggesting that Gavrinis, like other Neolithic sites, was built to reflect the rhythms of the cosmos. As fascinating as these theories are, they raise even more questions about the beliefs and motivations of the people who constructed the tomb. What did the celestial alignments mean to them? Were they simply marking the passage of time, or did they believe the cosmos played a direct role in their lives and deaths? And if the tomb at Gavrinis was a site of ritual and remembrance, what can we learn about the spiritual practices of the Neolithic people who built it? Was this a society that saw death as a passage to a new realm, or did they view the tomb as a means of preserving the influence of the deceased in the world of the living? Despite decades of research and excavation, the true significance of Gavrinis remains elusive. The tomb's intricate carvings, its elaborate construction, and its isolation all speak to a culture that was far more sophisticated than we often give them credit for. And yet, there is so much we still don't understand. Was this site built by a people who were simply skilled builders, or did they possess an understanding of the world that has been lost to time? What knowledge did the builders of Gavrinis have that we may never fully comprehend? As we stand before the stones of Gavrinis, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe. The tomb, with its ancient carvings and hidden meanings, remains one of the most profound mysteries of the Neolithic world. What truths still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? And how much of the ancient knowledge of Gavrinis, its symbols, its rituals, its beliefs, remains just beyond our grasp, a riddle from the past that continues to elude us? Nestled in the Andean mountains of Peru, high above the Sacred Valley, the ancient Inca site of Ollantaytambo offers visitors a dramatic view of stone walls that have withstood centuries of earthquakes, weathering, and human intervention. Among the most striking features of this site are the massive blocks of stone that form the foundations of its monumental structures, blocks so large and perfectly shaped that they seem almost impossible to have been moved or worked with the primitive tools available to the Inca civilization. The Ollantaytambo wall blocks are one of the greatest mysteries of Incan engineering, their sheer size and precise placement still provoking astonishment. The wall itself, built from enormous stone blocks, rises against the natural backdrop of the mountains with a sense of permanence, as though it has always been part of the landscape. The blocks themselves are cut with such precision that they fit together seamlessly, with no mortar or visible gaps between them, a hallmark of Incan stonemasonry. Some of the stones weigh as much as 50 tons, yet the question persists: how did the Incas, with their limited technology, transport, shape, and assemble such colossal stones without the wheel or advanced lifting machinery? As we stand before these walls, it's difficult not to be drawn into the mystery of how the Incas could have constructed such a marvel without the tools and techniques we might assume were necessary. The site's location adds to the enigma. Ollantaytambo sits on steep terrain, the massive blocks having been hauled up the mountain slopes to their positions with astonishing precision. The construction is not just a feat of strength. It is an intricate display of skill and an understanding of geometry that seems far ahead of its time. While scholars generally agree that the site was constructed in the 15th century during the reign of Inca Emperor Pachacuti, there is little consensus on how exactly the Inca managed to build these walls. Traditional explanations suggest that the Incas used simple tools such as copper hammers, wooden sledges, and ropes to move and shape the stones. Yet, given the sheer size and weight of these blocks, such methods seem almost inadequate. How could a relatively small workforce have moved such massive stones from quarries several miles away, let alone shape and fit them with the precision we see today? Even with the most basic of tools, the scale of the project suggests an advanced understanding of physics and engineering, one that defies easy explanation. One of the more intriguing aspects of the Ollantaytambo wall blocks is their intricate fit. Unlike typical masonry, where the blocks are simply stacked on top of one another, the stones at Ollantaytambo are shaped and carved so precisely that they interlock in a way that is almost seamless. The Inca were known for their skill in stonemasonry, but the level of precision seen in these walls is extraordinary. Each block has been shaped not just to fit with the surrounding stones, but to withstand the forces of nature, earthquakes, erosion, and the passage of time. And yet, there is no mortar to hold them in place. The blocks are not only massive, but are held together by their perfect fit, creating an almost indestructible structure. It is as if the walls themselves are designed to survive not just centuries, but millennia. This level of craftsmanship raises important questions. Did the Incas have access to more advanced tools or techniques than we know about? Some researchers have suggested that the Inca might have used a form of stoneworking technology that has been lost to history, perhaps a type of vibration technology that could have helped to shape and transport the stones with greater ease. There are fringe theories that posit that the Incas may have possessed knowledge of advanced machinery or techniques that have been obscured over time, perhaps through the loss of knowledge during the Spanish conquest or the collapse of the Inca Empire. Could it be that the Incas, like other ancient civilizations, had access to knowledge that we have only begun to rediscover? In addition to the remarkable craftsmanship, there are also peculiarities about the site's construction that remain unexplained. For example, some of the largest stones at Ollantaytambo appear to have been deliberately placed in locations that suggest a deeper symbolic purpose. The orientation of the blocks and the way they are arranged in relation to the landscape suggest that the site may have had astronomical or religious significance. The Inca were known for their deep connection to the cosmos, and it is entirely possible that the placement of these massive stones was not just about utility, but also about aligning the site with celestial events. Some researchers believe that Ollantaytambo may have been a place of ritual worship, a site where the alignment of the sun, moon, and stars was used to mark important agricultural or spiritual events. But what purpose could these enormous blocks have served? If the site was indeed a ceremonial center, what was its role in Incan society? Was Ollantaytambo a place for public rituals and gatherings, a place where the Inca elite conducted ceremonies to appease the gods or to celebrate important events in their empire's history? Or was it a military stronghold, a place of defense and strategy, as some scholars believe. The blending of religious, astronomical, and military elements at Ollantaytambo suggests that the site may have had multiple functions, each one tied to the spiritual and political needs of the Inca civilization. Adding to the intrigue of Ollantaytambo is its connection to the larger Incan network of ceremonial sites. The Inca were known for creating expansive systems of roads, agricultural terraces, and ceremonial centers that stretched across the Andean highlands, and Ollantaytambo was likely a key node in this network. Its strategic location, high in the mountains and with views of the valley below, would have made it an important site for both spiritual and military purposes. The construction of the walls may have been a symbol of the Incas' power and their connection to the gods, a way of asserting their dominance over the natural world, while also aligning themselves with celestial forces. Yet, despite the many theories and explanations put forward over the years, there is no clear answer to the questions raised by the Ollantaytambo wall blocks. The sheer scale and precision of the construction, combined with the lack of definitive historical records explaining how the Incas achieved such feats, continue to baffle modern researchers. Were the Incas simply incredibly skilled builders, or did they possess knowledge or technology that we have yet to fully understand? Was Ollantaytambo a ceremonial center, a military stronghold, or something else entirely? As we stand before the towering walls of Ollantaytambo today, it's impossible not to feel a sense of wonder. The stones, massive, precise, and unyielding, seem to speak to a civilization that was both incredibly advanced and profoundly connected to the world around them. Yet, the mystery of how the walls were built and why they were constructed remains unsolved. What knowledge did the Incas have that we may never fully uncover, and what might still be hidden beneath the surface of this ancient site, waiting to reveal its secrets? As we continue to explore the Inca Empire's many mysteries, Ollantaytambo stands as a testament to the enduring enigma of a civilization that has left us with more questions than answers. Tucked away in the quiet countryside of Sardinia, Italy, sits one of the island's most perplexing ancient monuments, a structure known as Monte da Codi. At first glance, it appears as nothing more than a simple mound of earth and stone, but the more closely one examines it, the more it reveals itself to be a site of profound mystery. Monte da Codi, with its flattened top and large stepped platform, bears a striking resemblance to the great ziggurats of Mesopotamia, structures built by ancient civilizations to reach toward the heavens. Yet here, in the heart of Sardinia, far from any known ancient city or civilization of the same scale, this monument stands as a solitary enigma, challenging our understanding of early Mediterranean architecture and religious practice. The site is comprised of a massive, rectangular platform, constructed with large stone blocks that form a series of steps leading to a flat summit. The structure measures over 25 meters in length and is believed to have been a ceremonial platform, possibly used for religious or ritual purposes. Radiocarbon dating places its construction somewhere around 4,000 years ago, during the Prehistoric Age, long before the rise of classical civilizations like the Greeks or Romans. But while its age is known, the purpose of Monte da Codi remains elusive, and its connection to other ancient sites is equally mysterious. One of the most intriguing aspects of the monument is its unusual design. Unlike typical Neolithic structures found on Sardinia, stone huts, tombs, or simple structures, the platform at Monte da Codi is more complex and imposing. It does not fit the typical pattern of the island's prehistoric architecture, suggesting that it was a site of extraordinary importance. Some researchers have speculated that it might have been a temple, an altar, or a ritual site where offerings to the gods were made, but the lack of definitive evidence leaves the purpose of the monument open to interpretation. The step-like design of the structure bears an uncanny resemblance to the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia, a connection that has sparked considerable debate. Ziggurats, like those built by the Sumerians or Babylonians, were massive terraced platforms used for religious ceremonies, and some have suggested that Monte Dakoti might have served a similar function. Was it a place of sacrifice, where rituals were performed to honor the gods? Or could it have been a place for astronomical observation, used by the people of Sardinia to mark the movements of the stars, sun, and moon? Some researchers even wonder if it could have been a form of ritual mountain, a symbolic representation of the relationship between the earth and the heavens. Yet, despite these comparisons, there are no direct links between the Sardinian monument and the more well-known cultures of the ancient Near East. How could a small, isolated island in the Mediterranean have produced such a structure, one so similar to the monumental ziggurats found thousands of miles away? This raises an even deeper question. Was there some form of cultural diffusion between the distant peoples of the Mediterranean and Mesopotamia, or is there another explanation for the striking resemblance? The lack of written records on Sardinia during this period only adds to the mystery. The people who built Monte Dakoti left no inscriptions, no texts, no clear symbols to indicate their purpose. Without such evidence, scholars have to rely on the structure itself and the limited artifacts found around it to piece together its significance. Some archaeologists have pointed to the discovery of ritual objects, including pottery, tools, and animal bones, suggesting that the site may have been used for ceremonial purposes. But what exactly those ceremonies entailed remains unclear. Were they dedicated to gods or spirits associated with the earth and nature, or did the people of Monte Dakoti have beliefs that are now lost to history? The mystery of the monument's purpose is compounded by the puzzling nature of its construction. Unlike the simpler stone structures of other prehistoric Sardinian sites, Monte Dakoti required a highly organized effort to build. The massive stones, many of which weigh several tons, had to be quarried, transported, and carefully assembled, a feat that would have required significant planning, labor, and possibly advanced knowledge of engineering. But how did the people of Sardinia, who are thought to have had limited technological resources, manage such an ambitious project? The precision with which the stones are laid suggests a level of craftsmanship that goes beyond the typical capabilities of Neolithic builders. Could they have had access to tools or techniques that we are not yet aware of? Or is it possible that they employed methods that have since been lost to time? Another layer of mystery surrounds the role of the monument in relation to its environment. Monte Dakoti is situated in a unique position on the island, near a natural hilltop and overlooking a broad, open landscape. Its location may have been carefully chosen for its visibility and its potential as a focal point in the surrounding area. But there is something hauntingly isolated about the site. It's not part of a larger settlement, and there are no other large monuments nearby, creating a sense that it might have been a sacred or solitary place for a select group of people. Was it built solely for the elite, or was it open to the wider community? And if it was a place of worship or ritual, how was it used by the people who visited it? Did they come here to connect with the divine, to seek favor from the gods, or to honor the cycles of nature? Some fringe theories even suggest that the monument could have been connected to a more mysterious or lost civilization, one that left behind no written record but whose advanced knowledge may have influenced the construction of monumental structures like Monte Dakoti. The idea of an ancient, forgotten civilization, one that predated the civilizations we know today, has captivated the imaginations of many. But whether or not such a civilization ever existed remains a matter of speculation, not evidence. As you stand before the great platform of Monte Dakoti, it is easy to feel both a sense of awe and uncertainty. The monument, though weathered by the centuries, still exudes a palpable energy, a silent testament to the people who built it. Yet, it raises more questions than it answers. Why this structure? Why here? And what, if anything, does it tell us about the people who lived on this island so many millennia ago? The mystery of Monte remains unresolved, inviting us to wonder what still lies hidden beneath the soil of Sardinia. Is there more to this ancient site than we've uncovered? What knowledge, lost to time, might still be buried here, waiting to be discovered? And perhaps most intriguingly, could this monument be just one piece of a larger puzzle, an artifact of a long-forgotten tradition, or even a glimpse into a worldview that was both unique and far more complex than we can imagine? As we continue to explore the mysteries of ancient sites like Monte we are left with the lingering sense that the past still holds many secrets, some of which may be beyond our understanding. Beneath the sun-scorched landscape of Malta, hidden from the casual observer, lies one of the most extraordinary and enigmatic sites of the ancient world, the Ħal Saflieni Hypogeum. This subterranean complex, carved deep into the rock, extends far below the surface, its passageways and chambers stretching across nearly 500 square meters. Discovered in 1902 by workers digging for building materials, the Hypogeum has since revealed itself to be a vast, multi-layered structure, both a burial site and perhaps a temple, dated to around 3000 BCE. Despite its significance, much about the Hypogeum remains shrouded in mystery, leaving archaeologists and historians to puzzle over its purpose, its construction, and the people who created it. Upon entering the Hypogeum, one is immediately struck by the stillness of the space. The air feels thick with history, as if the very walls are imbued with secrets. The narrow, winding corridors lead to large circular chambers, some of which were clearly designed to hold the remains of the deceased. The most impressive of these chambers is the so-called oracle room, named for its unique acoustics. When a person speaks or even whispers in this chamber, the sound echoes in a way that makes it seem as though it's coming from somewhere else entirely. The acoustics are so pronounced that it's easy to imagine ancient priests or ritual leaders using the room to communicate with unseen forces, or perhaps even to project an ethereal presence to those gathered. The construction of the Hypogeum itself is a marvel of ancient engineering. Carved from soft limestone, the chambers and passageways were painstakingly excavated with hand tools. Yet, the precision with which the walls and ceilings were cut seems almost impossible for a society without metal tools or advanced technologies. The walls are smooth, and the design of the rooms is highly organized, suggesting a level of planning and knowledge that exceeds what might be expected from the prehistoric society that built it. How did a people with such limited resources create a space of this complexity, especially one that stretches so deep into the earth? Radiocarbon dating has placed the construction of the Hypogeum at around 3000 BCE, though some estimates suggest it may have been in use for even longer. The significance of this dating is profound. The site predates most of the great civilizations of the Mediterranean, including the Egyptians and the Sumerians, and yet it demonstrates a level of organization and skill that hints at a deep cultural sophistication. Who were the people who built this structure, and what prompted them to dig so far into the earth? Was it a burial site for the elite, or was it something more? Perhaps a center for religious ceremonies, or a place of initiation into ancient mysteries. Inside the Hypogeum, archaeologists have discovered thousands of human remains, some of which appear to have been ritually placed. The bones, many of which show signs of violent trauma, suggest that the individuals buried here were not just ordinary people, but perhaps priests, rulers, or warriors. The precise nature of the burial practices, however, is unclear. Was the Hypogeum a place of mass burial, or were the remains of important individuals placed here as part of a larger ceremonial rite? The discovery of remains belonging to infants and children also raises questions. Were these individuals sacrificed as part of religious rituals, or is there a different explanation for their presence in the Hypogeum? One of the most striking features of the Ħal Saflieni Hypogeum is the presence of strange, almost otherworldly carvings and decorations on the walls. Some of these carvings appear to represent abstract symbols, while others depict human figures, some with exaggerated facial features. These symbols and figures have been interpreted by some as depictions of gods or spiritual beings, but their meaning remains elusive. Could they represent a lost pantheon of deities, or were they perhaps a form of early writing or communication? The lack of any definitive inscription or clear symbolism leaves these carvings open to a wide range of interpretations, from more conventional archaeological readings to more speculative theories about their possible connection to ancient, lost knowledge or extraterrestrial influences. In addition to the physical structure, the hypogeum has also been linked to an enduring mystery surrounding its acoustic properties. The oracle room is famous for its ability to amplify and distort sound in a way that could have had ritual significance. In a place where rituals were likely performed, could these peculiar acoustics have been used to create an atmosphere of divine communication, where voices might have seemed to come from the earth itself, or even from another world? Could the builders have intentionally designed the space for its sound properties, knowing that the human voice could be amplified in such a way? Or was this feature an accidental discovery, a byproduct of the natural acoustics of the limestone? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the hypogeum was abandoned long before the rise of classical Mediterranean civilizations. Over time, the site was sealed, and its existence was forgotten. Even when the hypogeum was rediscovered in the early 20th century, its significance remained unclear, and its connection to other known ancient structures, such as those of Egypt or Mesopotamia, was not immediately apparent. Yet there are striking similarities between the hypogeum and other megalithic structures, such as the pyramids of Egypt, the stone circles of Britain, and the temples of ancient Greece. These connections have led some researchers to suggest that the hypogeum might have been part of a larger, now lost network of ancient sites linked by shared religious or astronomical knowledge. There are also those who speculate about the hypogeum's connection to extraterrestrial influences. Some fringe theorists point to the site's unusual acoustics and the precision of its construction as evidence of advanced knowledge that could not have been possessed by prehistoric humans. Could the hypogeum have been constructed with the help of advanced technology, or even extraterrestrial beings whose influence on early human cultures has been lost to history? While these ideas remain highly speculative and are not supported by mainstream archaeology, they continue to capture the imagination of those who find the hypogeum's mysteries difficult to explain through conventional means. The question that remains as we continue to study the hypogeum and its secrets is what exactly this site represents. Was it simply a burial site for a complex society, or was it a temple dedicated to a forgotten religion, perhaps even a place of cosmic significance? Its acoustics, its complex structure, and its curious symbolism all suggest that it served some higher purpose, a purpose that we have yet to fully uncover. As we peer into the darkness of the hypogeum's passageways, it becomes clear that its mysteries are not easily solved. Perhaps, like so many other ancient sites, the full truth of the hypogeum lies beyond our current understanding. What knowledge, what spiritual or cultural practices might have been stored within these chambers, hidden away from the world for millennia? As we stand at the edge of its labyrinthine halls, we are left with the haunting sense that the hypogeum still holds many secrets, secrets that might never be fully revealed, no matter how deeply we dig. Nestled on the island of Gozo, part of the Maltese archipelago in the Mediterranean, the Ġgantija Temples stand as silent giants, their weathered stone walls rising from the earth like ancient sentinels, guarding secrets that have defied time itself. These temples, older than the pyramids of Egypt and the stone circles of Stonehenge, possess an aura of mystery that seems to transcend the conventional boundaries of history and archaeology. The island of Gozo is serene, its rocky terrain framed by the endless stretch of sea. And yet, amid this tranquility, Ġgantija remains one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites in the world. The sheer scale of the temples is awe-inspiring. Enclosing two separate structures, the walls of Ġgantija soar up to 7 meters in places, built from massive limestone blocks, some weighing over 50 tons. It is not simply the size of these stones that captivates modern observers. It is the fact that they were quarried, shaped, and meticulously placed over 5,500 years ago, at a time when human technology was seemingly incapable of such feats. It is hard to fathom how a society, without the use of metal tools, could craft these immense stones and transport them with the precision that is evident at Ġgantija. And yet, there they are, a testament to the ingenuity of a people whose very existence remains shrouded in mystery. The temples were constructed between 3,600 and 2,500 BCE, during a time known as the Neolithic period. The structures are believed to have been part of a complex religious or ceremonial site, dedicated to fertility or mother goddesses, based on the symbolic representations of figures carved into the stone walls. The remains of animal bones and offerings found in the vicinity suggest ritualistic practices tied to agriculture and the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. But beyond the religious significance, the very existence of the temples raises a fundamental question. How was such an advanced structure built with the technology of the time? The mainstream explanation points to the ingenuity of the ancient builders. The Neolithic people, it is assumed, possessed a deep knowledge of their environment, using simple tools to shape the stones and then rolling or dragging them across the landscape to their final destination. It suggested that they may have used wooden sledges or simple cranes. But even the most reasonable interpretations struggle to explain how they transported these enormous blocks of stone, especially considering the lack of suitable material for tools at that time. How did they move these stones across the island? How did they lift them into position with such precision? One theory suggests that the construction of Ġgantija was the work of a skilled and highly organized society, whose expertise in engineering and mathematics far exceeded what we would expect for this period. This would imply that the builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of geometry and perhaps even astronomy, as the layout of the temples appears to align with certain celestial events. Some archaeologists point to the way the structures are oriented toward the sunrise and sunset at specific times of the year. Could this imply a form of knowledge that transcends what we know about prehistoric cultures? Could these ancient builders have had access to knowledge that was lost to time, only to resurface centuries or millennia later? Still, the mystery deepens when we consider the construction timeline. It is believed that the Ġgantija complex was not built by one single group of people, but was the result of generations of effort. The site evolved over the centuries, with new structures added and older ones altered. Yet, despite the longevity of its use, no written records have been found to explain its purpose or the identity of the people who built it. The absence of written language at that time should have rendered such an undertaking impossible, or so we would think. How could a civilization that left no written record of their achievements create something so monumental, so sophisticated, that it still boggles the minds of archaeologists today? Moreover, the scale of the project hints at something even more curious. The population of the island during the Neolithic period was likely small, and yet such an immense undertaking suggests a level of social cohesion and organization that could have been the result of an unseen, powerful force. Some theorists speculate that the creation of Ġgantija may have involved not only technical knowledge, but also the kind of collective energy that could only arise from religious or spiritual motivations of great intensity. Was it the will of a powerful priesthood, or perhaps even an unknown ruling class, that drove the construction of such an extraordinary structure? Yet, there are fringe theories that venture into even more speculative territory. Some suggest that the builders of Ġgantija may have had contact with more advanced civilizations, or that they were inspired by knowledge passed down from earlier, more sophisticated cultures. The lack of evidence for such civilizations does not rule out the possibility, according to these theories. Could the temple builders have been guided by an ancient memory of a lost culture, perhaps one that predates even their own? Could these structures have been inspired by a knowledge passed down from mysterious ancestors, possibly even extraterrestrial beings? It is a thought that lingers, though one that remains firmly outside the realm of mainstream archaeology. Despite centuries of study, the full purpose of the Ġgantija Temples remains elusive. Were they merely places of worship, or did they serve a more complex function, one that has been lost to history? The alignment of the temples with the celestial events raises another intriguing possibility. Could the structure have served as an astronomical observatory? Perhaps the island's ancient inhabitants studied the stars with the same intensity as the ancient Egyptians or Babylonians. Did they possess a deep, esoteric knowledge of the heavens, encoded within the very stones of the temple? The Ġgantija Temples stand as a remarkable achievement in human history, yet their mysteries seem impenetrable, their origins untraceable. They offer no simple answers, only more questions. How did they build such a massive site with the technology available to them? What knowledge did they possess that remains lost to time? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, what, if anything, remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered? As the shadows lengthen over Gozo, the Ġgantija Temples seem to whisper their secrets into the wind. And though centuries of inquiry have brought us closer to understanding their creators, the true story of their construction and their purpose remains, for now, an enigma. As the sun sets over the island of Sardinia, the rugged landscape of the Mediterranean casts long shadows over one of the most enigmatic structures ever built by ancient hands. Nestled in the rolling hills of Barrow, a site called Nuraghe Su Nuraxi rises from the earth. A giant stone fortress, a labyrinth of towers and chambers that seems to whisper secrets from a time long past. Here, amid the quiet stillness, one can't help but feel the weight of history pressing down, as though the stones themselves hold stories that have been buried for millennia. Su Nuraxi is part of the Nuragic civilization, a culture that flourished on Sardinia from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age between roughly 1600 BCE and 500 BCE. Unlike other ancient cultures of the Mediterranean, the Nuragics left behind no written records, and as a result, much of what we know about them remains shrouded in mystery. The Nuraghe structures they built, over 7,000 of which still dot the Sardinian landscape, serve as silent witnesses to this forgotten civilization. But none stand as tall or as puzzling as Su Nuraxi. The site itself is breathtaking. A massive central tower, built with perfectly hewn stone blocks, dominates the complex. Surrounding it are several smaller towers, interconnected by an intricate maze of walls, passageways, and courtyards. The structure is an architectural marvel, with the stones fitted together so precisely that no mortar was needed. The engineers who built Su Nuraxi achieved a level of skill that remains impressive even by today's standards. Yet, despite the apparent sophistication of the structure, its true purpose remains an open question. The mainstream theory suggests that Nuraghe Su Nuraxi was a fortified settlement, a defensive stronghold built to protect its inhabitants from external threats. Given its strategic location and the scale of the construction, it makes sense that it might have served as a military or administrative center. The central tower, for example, would have provided a commanding view of the surrounding landscape, while the inner chambers could have housed important leaders or elites. But as we dig deeper into the mystery of Su Nuraxi, we encounter elements that resist easy explanation. For one, there is the sheer scale of the structure. Why would a relatively small island, populated by a people with limited resources, invest so much effort into a single monumental project? How did they transport the massive stones, some weighing several tons, and fit them so precisely without modern tools? The Nuragics didn't have cranes, pulleys, or any of the advanced machinery we might expect to see used in such a construction today. Some suggest that the builders might have employed unknown techniques, perhaps even lost knowledge, to achieve such feats. Could this ancient society have possessed a level of engineering expertise that we are only beginning to understand? And then there is the mystery of the inner chambers of the Nuraghe. The tower's interior is a labyrinth of small, narrow passages that seem to defy logical purpose. Some suggest that these chambers were used for religious rituals, perhaps connected to a fertility cult, while others speculate they could have served as spaces for communal gatherings or even astronomical observations. But no clear answers have emerged. What was the true role of these chambers, and what secrets might they hold? Were they built with a deeper, more symbolic purpose in mind? Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Nuraghe Su Nuraxi, however, is its location. Situated in a remote area of Sardinia, far from the major trade routes of the ancient world, the site seems to have been deliberately hidden away from the eyes of outsiders. Was it a place of great spiritual significance, far removed from the influence of the Mediterranean civilizations that surrounded it? Or was it a place of power, deliberately isolated to keep its mysteries and its people protected from the outside world? The answer to these questions may never be fully revealed. What is known is that, over time, the Nuraghe complex fell into ruin. By the time of the Romans, the once great fortress was abandoned, its purpose forgotten. And yet, for thousands of years, it has withstood the passage of time. The stones of Su Nuraxi are weathered, but they remain steadfast, silent sentinels guarding the secrets of a long-lost world. As scholars and archaeologists continue to study the site, they have uncovered further clues that add to the intrigue. Beneath the complex, researchers have discovered ancient tombs and burial chambers, suggesting that the site may have also held a sacred significance for the people who lived there. Could it have been a burial site for high-ranking individuals, or even a place of ritual sacrifice? The possibility of a connection between the Nuraghe and religious practices only deepens the sense of mystery that surrounds the site. Other theories have emerged over the years, some more speculative than others. Some believe that the Nuraghe could have been a center for astronomical knowledge, with its design oriented around the movements of the stars and planets. Its labyrinthine corridors, they argue, could have served as a kind of celestial map, a guide to the heavens. Could the Nuragics have possessed advanced astronomical knowledge that has been lost to history? And if so, what might that reveal about their understanding of the cosmos and their place within it? Equally captivating is the notion that Su Nuraxi might not have been built by the Nuragics at all. Some have proposed that the site could predate the Nuragic civilization, perhaps constructed by an even older, forgotten culture. This theory is based on the unusual and highly precise stonework found throughout the complex, which some argue is too advanced for the time period traditionally associated with the Nuragics. Could there have been a more ancient civilization on Sardinia, one whose legacy has been completely erased from the historical record? As we explore the history and mystery of Nuraghe Su Nuraxi, we are left with more questions than answers. Was it a fortress, a temple, an astronomical observatory, or something entirely different, something we have yet to comprehend? What knowledge and understanding have been lost to time, hidden in the stones and shadows of this ancient site? The story of Su Nuraxi remains unfinished, and the mystery it holds continues to tantalize and elude us. What we know for certain is that this remarkable structure, standing against the passage of time, will continue to challenge our understanding of the ancient world. And as we peer deeper into its past, we must ask ourselves, what else, hidden within the stones of this ancient fortress, might still be waiting to be discovered? Nestled on the island of Minorca, one of the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean, lies the archaeological site of Talatí de Dalt. The very name of the place, Talatí de Dalt, which translates roughly to the Upper Talatí, seems to carry an air of ancient mystery, a subtle reminder of secrets buried beneath the soil and the passage of time. Standing against the backdrop of craggy hills and sun-baked terrain, the site offers a rare glimpse into a civilization long lost to history, a civilization that, for reasons that remain unclear, chose to leave behind some of the most enigmatic remnants of their culture. A low stone wall marks the entrance to Talatí de Dalt, a site that, when you first approach, feels almost abandoned, as though time itself has forgotten the significance of what lies here. Yet, as you step through that threshold, a quiet hum seems to echo through the air. You are not alone. The ghosts of the past linger here in the form of megalithic walls, towering stone structures, and remnants of a forgotten way of life that has persisted for over 3,000 years. At its core, Talatí de Dalt is a Talayotic settlement, part of a widespread and ancient culture known for its distinctive megalithic architecture scattered across the islands of Minorca and Majorca. The Talayots, large, round, tower-like structures made from massive stone blocks, are the hallmark of this civilization, yet they remain shrouded in mystery. These structures are often described as both defensive and ceremonial, though their exact purpose is still hotly debated among archaeologists. The Talayots of Minorca are an enduring enigma, their purpose and function remaining elusive even to this day. Were they watchtowers, temples, or perhaps a fusion of both, a place where the people of this long-lost culture gathered for spiritual rites, as well as for protection? The truth seems to slip further away with each passing year, as new excavations reveal only more questions. Among the ruins of Talatí de Dalt, one of the most prominent features is the massive Talayot itself, standing as a silent sentinel, its weathered stones still holding firm after millennia. This colossal structure rises from the earth, its circular form both imposing and graceful, as if designed to echo the rhythm of the natural world that surrounds it. Its walls are thick and unyielding, constructed with an engineering precision that would have been remarkable for its time. And yet, despite the precision of its construction, the purpose of the Talayot remains a subject of debate. Some suggest it was an observatory, aligning with celestial events, while others believe it was a communal center, the heart of a society that worshipped deities long forgotten. The settlement itself is no less intriguing. Within the site's boundaries, one can find a labyrinth of stone rooms and chambers, some of which are remarkably well preserved. These spaces seem to have been carefully planned, their walls built to withstand the harsh winds and searing heat of Minorca's climate. But again, questions persist. Why did the people of Talatí de Dalt construct their homes and structures in such a manner? Some of these buildings, particularly the talas, another signature of Talayotic culture, appear to be both functional and ceremonial. The tala is a large stone structure with a flat, horizontal stone balanced on top of a vertical one, creating a T-shaped monument that hints at rituals, perhaps those of an agrarian or fertility nature. The sophistication of the architecture, however, does not provide us with all the answers. The Talayotic people, it seems, vanished abruptly, leaving behind only their stone markers and an air of quiet mystery. No written records have been uncovered to shed light on their culture, and the archaeological evidence offers only fragments of insight into their way of life. The suddenness of their disappearance is particularly perplexing, raising questions about what might have driven them to abandon their homes and their land. Was it invasion? A natural disaster? Or perhaps something more insidious, a social collapse, or even a religious upheaval. Some believe that the civilization's decline was tied to a series of climate events, a prolonged drought, perhaps, that made survival increasingly difficult. Others point to the possibility of conflict, either internal strife or invasion by outside forces, as the cause of their sudden downfall. But there is little evidence to confirm any one theory with certainty, leaving room for speculation. And then there are the stranger, more fringe theories. Some have suggested that the Talatí people might have had a greater understanding of astronomy and celestial alignments than we currently give them credit for. Could their stone structures, including the taliots and taulas, have been built to track the stars, marking key moments in the solar and lunar cycles? Or, more provocatively, might the taliots themselves have been part of a forgotten religious system, one with rituals connected to the heavens, a lost faith that might have once rivaled the great religions of the ancient world? Even more speculative theories suggest that the Talatí people were not simply isolated islanders, but part of a larger trans-Mediterranean network of ancient cultures, trading knowledge, goods, and perhaps even spiritual practices with distant peoples. Could Talatí de Dalt have been a center of some form of ancient mysticism or hidden knowledge? Did the people of Minorca possess a forgotten technology or an esoteric understanding of the natural world that we are only now beginning to rediscover? However, these ideas remain speculative. There is no evidence to suggest anything beyond the known archaeological record. Yet the persistence of these theories speaks to something deep within us, the need for an answer, the desire to know who these people were, what they believed, and why they vanished into history without a trace. As the sun sets over Talatí de Dalt, casting long shadows over the stones, one is left to wonder about the lives that once filled this now silent place. Did the people of Talatí de Dalt gaze up at the stars as we do now, wondering about their place in the vast, uncharted cosmos? What knowledge did they possess, and why did they leave so little behind? The stone walls may stand as silent witnesses, but they cannot tell us their stories. All we are left with are fragments of stone, of thought, and of history. The true mystery of Talatí de Dalt endures. Perhaps one day, deeper excavation, a new discovery, or an unexpected breakthrough will shed light on this enigmatic place. Until then, the secrets of Talatí de Dalt remain locked in the stones waiting to be uncovered. In the heart of the Saharan foothills, near the town of Tiaret in modern-day Algeria, a towering structure rises from the barren earth, a monumental tomb that has captivated archaeologists, historians, and explorers alike for centuries. Known as the Medracen, this ancient burial site is not only a remarkable architectural feat, but also a mysterious symbol of the Numidian kingdom, whose history has all but faded from the pages of time. The tomb of Medracen stands imposingly on the horizon, its presence undeniable against the backdrop of the harsh, sun-scorched landscape. At first glance, it resembles a massive weathered pyramid, its stepped design and cylindrical shape suggesting the influence of other ancient cultures, yet it is uniquely North African in its expression. Constructed from massive stones, each carefully placed with precise skill, Medracen is a structure that speaks of power and wealth, of a society capable of engineering marvels at a time when much of the world was still in the throes of early civilization. The tomb's most striking feature is its sheer scale. Standing nearly 20 meters tall, it is one of the largest and most imposing monuments of its kind in the Maghreb region. At its base, the tomb widens into a wide circular platform, leading up to the central burial chamber, where it is believed that the remains of a powerful Numidian king lie. Some archaeologists suggest that Medracen may have been built as a royal mausoleum, a final resting place for the elite rulers of the ancient Berber kingdom of Numidia. but even the most basic of facts about the site seem to raise more questions than answers. Though its grandeur is clear, what remains elusive is the identity of the king, or kings, buried within. Theories abound, but certainty remains elusive. Some scholars believe that Medracen was the tomb of King Massinissa, a powerful ruler who united the Numidian tribes and forged alliances with Rome in the 2nd century BCE. Others suggest it could be the final resting place of King Micipsa, his son and successor, or even one of the lesser-known rulers of the kingdom. Yet no definitive inscriptions or historical records have been found to confirm any one individual. As archaeologists continue to probe the site, they find themselves puzzled not only by the identity of the king, but by the very nature of the tomb itself. The tomb is, by all accounts, a fusion of both Berber and foreign architectural influences, which raises intriguing questions about the cultural exchange that took place in the ancient Mediterranean world. Was Medracen built purely by Numidian hands, or was it shaped by influences from other ancient civilizations, such as Egypt, Carthage, or even Greece? This blending of styles suggests that the builders of Medracen were not isolated but part of a broader network of cultures and traditions, yet the precise connections remain shrouded in mystery. Adding to the enigma is the lack of any formal inscription or written record within the tomb. In many other ancient burial sites, inscriptions provide vital information about the deceased, their lineage, and their accomplishments. But here, no such markers have been found, at least none that can definitively answer the questions that surround this site. While the site was likely looted in antiquity, even the excavation process has failed to yield any conclusive answers about the individuals buried there. Is this absence of written records intentional? Did the people of Numidia deliberately choose to obscure the identity of their rulers? Or is this another piece of a larger puzzle, one that we have yet to fully understand? The question of why Medracen was constructed also remains a point of debate. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the elaborate tombs of Mesopotamia, Medracen was not built in an urban center but on the edge of the desert, far from the bustling cities of the ancient world. Why would the Numidians have chosen such a remote and isolated location to build such a monumental tomb? Was it a deliberate attempt to keep the tomb hidden from invaders? Or perhaps it was a spiritual or symbolic decision, a choice to position the tomb at the boundary between life and death, between civilization and the vast, unforgiving desert. The tomb itself contains little in the way of grave goods, which is unusual for a site of such importance. Typically, royal tombs are filled with treasures, gold, weapons, pottery, and other artifacts that reflect the wealth and power of the deceased. At Medracen, however, such items are notably absent, which has led some researchers to wonder whether the tomb was looted in antiquity or if it was deliberately left empty. Was there something symbolic about the absence of wealth in the tomb? Could the Numidians have believed that the king's soul would travel to the afterlife without the need for earthly possessions? Or was this simply a result of the ravages of time and human interference? One of the more intriguing aspects of Medracen is the manner in which it stands, almost in defiance of the elements. The harsh winds and scorching heat of the Sahara have worn down much of the stonework, but still, the tomb endures. The question arises, how was it that such a structure, built thousands of years ago, could still remain standing with relatively minimal erosion? Did the builders possess some kind of secret knowledge of engineering or materials that allowed them to construct a monument so resistant to the ravages of time? Some have even ventured into more speculative territory. Could the Numidians have had access to advanced knowledge of construction techniques, possibly even lost technologies, that allowed them to create such an enduring structure? Perhaps, like the Egyptians or the mysterious builders of the Stonehenge, they were in possession of a knowledge that has since been forgotten, lost to the sands of time. Adding to this, there is an element of myth surrounding the tomb. In local Berber folklore, there are stories of powerful kings and mystic rulers whose tombs were not merely burial sites, but sacred places, imbued with supernatural significance. Was Medracen built with such esoteric beliefs in mind? Could it be that the tomb itself was constructed as a gateway to another realm, an entrance to the afterlife, or a connection to divine forces? As researchers continue to study the site, one thing remains abundantly clear. Medracen is more than just a tomb. It is a testament to a civilization that, though long forgotten by the world, left behind a legacy of mystery and wonder. It stands as a reminder of the complexities of ancient cultures, whose stories and beliefs have largely slipped through the cracks of history. The identity of the ruler buried within, the purpose of the tomb, and the secrets it holds are all questions that continue to elude us. While we may have some understanding of the construction and cultural context of the site, so much about Medracen remains unknown. And perhaps that is the most tantalizing mystery of all. What other truths lie hidden within this ancient structure? What knowledge has been lost forever? And what might we still uncover, waiting just below the surface? The tomb stands silent, and the sands of time continue to shift around it. But the questions it raises remain as potent as ever, beckoning, waiting for an answer we may never find. In the arid expanse of the Texas hill country, hidden among rugged limestone cliffs and beneath a canopy of cypress trees, lies one of the most intriguing and enigmatic rock art sites in North America, the White Shaman mural. Tucked away in a remote alcove of the Pecos River, this ancient painting is both a marvel of prehistoric artistry and a riddle that continues to puzzle archaeologists, historians, and Native American tribes alike. The mural, which stretches across the walls of a sheltered cave, is a striking depiction of a complex and otherworldly scene. Its vivid red, black, and white pigments stand in sharp contrast to the pale, weathered stone, as if the colors themselves have been suspended in time, defying the erosion of centuries. The image is large, perhaps 10 feet long, carved into the rock face with a level of detail that seems almost too precise for a people who, by conventional wisdom, would not have had access to advanced tools or techniques. The figures depicted in the mural are human-like but otherworldly, dancing, reaching towards the sky, and surrounded by a host of symbols that resist easy interpretation. But perhaps the most striking element of the mural is the figure in white, often referred to as the White Shaman. This central figure stands at the heart of the mural, its body painted in stark white against a background of rich red and brown. Its arms are raised, fingers splayed in an expression that seems to transcend time, as though it is reaching towards something far beyond the limits of this world. The figure is surrounded by other symbols and figures that appear to be in motion, perhaps engaged in some kind of ritual or ceremony, but the meaning remains unclear. What does this figure represent? Who was the artist behind this intricate scene, and what was its purpose? The White Shaman mural is widely believed to have been created by the ancient Paleo-Indians, the earliest inhabitants of North America, who lived in the region as long as 4,000 to 8,000 years ago. These people, part of a broader group of hunter-gatherers, left behind a wealth of rock art, scattered throughout the caves and cliffs of the American Southwest. But unlike other examples of rock art, the White Shaman mural stands out for its size, complexity, and symbolism, which suggest that it may have served a role far beyond simple decoration. In fact, the mural's very location, deep within a sheltered rock alcove, hints at its ritualistic importance. Such remote sites, often difficult to reach and hidden from view, were frequently used for spiritual or ceremonial purposes. The shaman figure, in particular, suggests that the mural may have been connected to ancient religious practices. In many cultures, shamans were seen as mediators between the human and spirit worlds, individuals with the ability to enter altered states of consciousness, communicate with spirits, and guide others in their spiritual journeys. Is it possible that this mural was a representation of such a ritual? Was it created to mark a sacred site, a place where shamanistic ceremonies took place to connect with the divine? Yet, even with the broad agreement among scholars about its general meaning, the specifics of the White Shaman mural remain elusive. What exactly are the figures and symbols surrounding the White Shaman intended to represent? Some have suggested that the swirling patterns in the mural are representations of spiritual or cosmic forces, perhaps depicting a journey between life and death, or the movement of celestial bodies across the night sky. Others point to the presence of animals and human-like figures as potential representations of transformation or spirit guides. One of the more curious aspects of the painting is the presence of what appears to be an antelope or deer, which many interpret as a symbol of fertility or sustenance. But how does this imagery connect to the human figure at the center? Could the shaman be transforming into something else, an animal, a spirit, or something entirely unknown? Beyond these more conventional interpretations, there are more speculative theories that continue to swirl around the White Shaman mural. Some researchers have suggested that the mural could represent a form of shamanic cosmology, a symbolic map of the spiritual realms. The raised arms of the White Shaman might signify a call to the heavens, an invitation to commune with the gods or spirits of the earth. Others wonder if the mural could have been a kind of ritual guide, meant to teach or lead initiates through certain rites of passage. If this is true, it implies that the creation of the mural was not simply an artistic endeavor, but an act of profound spiritual significance. There is also the possibility that the White Shaman mural is an early form of astronomical or calendrical representation. The movement of stars and celestial bodies was deeply significant to ancient peoples, and some have speculated that the figures in the mural could be tied to the cycles of the moon, the sun, or specific constellations. This theory is supported by the suggestion that the design of the mural may reflect the ceremonial movements of the people who painted it, possibly marking important seasonal events or spiritual observances tied to the passage of time. Yet, for all of the theories, there is no definitive answer. The true meaning behind the mural and the identity of the artists who created it remain shrouded in mystery. No inscriptions or written records have been found to provide direct evidence of the intent behind the artwork. The mural, it seems, exists as a symbol of something lost to history, a cultural expression that speaks across the ages but refuses to give up its secrets. One of the most perplexing questions surrounding the White Shaman mural is whether it was created in isolation or if it was part of a broader tradition of rock art. Were there other murals like it, created by the same or similar peoples, that might offer further context? Or is the White Shaman mural a unique outlier, an artifact so distinct that it offers us a glimpse into an entirely different worldview? The murals found in the region are often varied in style and content, suggesting that there may have been multiple cultural influences at play. Could the figure of the White Shaman be a reflection of ideas shared across different groups, or is it indicative of a specific, isolated belief system? Even more intriguing is the possibility that this mural could be a message or warning to future generations. Some researchers have speculated that the people who painted it may have been trying to convey a deeper truth or understanding of the world, a knowledge that, over time, has been lost or obscured. Could the White Shaman be a figure who embodies ancient wisdom, knowledge of the spirit world, or a foretelling of a great change? Or was it simply a way of recording the lived experiences and spiritual beliefs of a people who have long since vanished? The answer, it seems, is elusive. The White Shaman mural continues to stand as a testament to the creativity, spirituality, and mystery of a long-lost culture. Its meanings, multifaceted, layered, and complex, remain far beyond our full understanding. And perhaps, as we look at the white-painted figure reaching toward the heavens, we are reminded that some mysteries, no matter how much we study them, may remain forever out of reach. The mural's silence calls to us, offering only fragments of the past, yet asking us to consider what other truths might still be hidden beneath layers of rock and time. High in the rugged, untamed wilderness of New Zealand's North Island, hidden among thick forests and dense undergrowth, lies an ancient and mysterious stone formation, the Kaimanawa Wall. Stretching for over 60 meters, this seemingly ancient structure has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and geologists alike. It is an imposing feature, consisting of tightly interlocked blocks of stone, some weighing several tons. The wall rises out of the earth with no clear explanation, seemingly defying the natural order of the landscape. The Kaimanawa Wall sits at the foot of the Kaimanawa Ranges, nestled within the heart of the vast wilderness that is the home of New Zealand's indigenous Maori culture. To the untrained eye, it may appear to be a natural rock formation, an oddity of nature, perhaps shaped by centuries of erosion. But as one approaches the structure more closely, the regularity of its stones, the precision of the joints, and the pattern in which the blocks have been placed become undeniable. These stones seem far too deliberate, too intentionally arranged, to be the result of natural forces alone. The discovery of the Kaimanawa Wall was not a grand archaeological revelation, but rather an accidental encounter. In 1993, while surveying the area, a team of researchers stumbled upon the wall, partly obscured by moss, ferns, and the creeping tendrils of native flora. Initially, it was believed to be a natural rock formation. But closer examination revealed something far stranger. The blocks are unusually large, carefully shaped, and fitted with remarkable precision, suggesting that the structure might be man-made, or at least the result of human intervention. It's clear that this is no ordinary stone formation. The wall's linear arrangement, the geometric order of the blocks, and the alignment of the structure all point to deliberate construction. But questions quickly arise. Who could have built such a wall, and when? Was it created by the indigenous Maori people, or is it far older, the work of a long-lost civilization whose very existence has been erased by time? The mainstream explanation, supported by many archaeologists and historians, is that the wall was built by the Maori people. According to this theory, it was constructed as a form of defensive fortification or a ceremonial structure. Some researchers suggest that the Kaimanawa Wall could have been a foundation for a larger structure, possibly a defensive pa, fortified village, or a sacred site, aligning with the Maori tradition of building elaborate structures from the land. However, despite this theory, there is no direct evidence linking the wall to the Maori. The oldest evidence of human settlement in New Zealand dates back only around 700 to 1,000 years, relatively recent in geological terms. The Kaimanawa Wall, by contrast, appears to be far older, with some estimates placing its creation at a much earlier date, perhaps even thousands of years before the arrival of the Maori. How could a structure of such scale and sophistication have been built so long before New Zealand's human inhabitants are thought to have arrived? Could the Maori, known for their advanced navigational and engineering skills, have been building such monumental works long before they officially arrived on the islands? Some experts suggest that the Kaimanawa Wall could be the remains of a much older pre-Maori civilization, whose existence has been lost to history. This theory proposes that the wall may be the vestige of an ancient people who once inhabited New Zealand long before the ancestors of the Maori. Evidence for this hypothesis is largely circumstantial, but the wall's unusual characteristics have led some to speculate that it could be a remnant of a culture far more advanced than the early Maori. The question remains, however, if such a civilization existed, where are the other signs of their culture? What other remnants have been left behind? In the absence of definitive evidence, some have looked to the structure itself, attempting to decode the messages hidden in its design. The wall's perfectly straight lines and the methodical arrangement of the blocks might suggest some kind of symbolic meaning. Could the structure be more than just a practical creation? Could it have a deeper spiritual purpose, aligned with celestial events or earth energies? The Maori, with their intricate spiritual beliefs and deep connection to the land, were known to imbue their constructions with symbolic meaning. Perhaps the Kaimanawa Wall, like many of their other sacred sites, was intended to reflect a larger understanding of the world, a cosmic design encoded in stone. A more speculative theory holds that the Kaimanawa Wall could be evidence of a lost technology or ancient building methods that were lost to time. Could the builders of the wall have possessed knowledge of construction that is now forgotten? It is a tantalizing thought that somewhere in the ancient past, a civilization may have had access to techniques and tools that allowed them to build with such precision and scale, techniques that were ultimately lost or forgotten due to some cataclysmic event. If this is true, what other mysteries lie buried beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? One of the most provocative theories involves the possibility of a transoceanic connection. Some have suggested that the Kaimanawa Wall could be a remnant of an ancient culture that traveled to New Zealand from distant lands, such as South America, Southeast Asia, or even the lost civilizations of the Pacific. This theory, though highly controversial, draws on similarities between the wall and other ancient structures found across the world, such as the megalithic sites of Easter Island, Peru, and even the ancient sites of Egypt. Could New Zealand have once been a destination for seafaring peoples who left behind traces of their civilization in the form of enigmatic structures like the Kaimanawa Wall? Even with these theories, the Kaimanawa Wall remains an enigma. Despite efforts to study the wall and its surroundings, the answers continue to elude us. Modern technology, such as carbon dating and ground-penetrating radar, have been unable to provide conclusive answers regarding the age and origin of the wall. Its precise purpose and the identity of its creators remain as elusive as the mist that often surrounds the site. What is clear, however, is that the Kaimanawa Wall is far more than just an interesting geological formation. It is a puzzle that speaks to the complexity of New Zealand's ancient past, a puzzle that resists easy answers. Was it built by the Maori, or by a people long lost to history? Does it represent a forgotten technological achievement, or is it a reflection of ancient spiritual beliefs encoded in stone? And if there is a deeper truth hidden within the walls of this ancient structure, what might it reveal about the lost civilizations that once roamed the earth? The Kaimanawa Wall, silent and still, stands as a testament to the enduring mystery of our planet's past. As the wind rustles through the trees and the birds call out in the distance, the wall continues to guard its secrets. And as we gaze upon it, we are left to wonder, what other mysteries, hidden in plain sight, might still lie beneath the surface of our understanding, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? Hidden in the heat and dust of Iran's central plateau, near the modern-day city of Kashan, lies one of the oldest and most mysterious archaeological sites in the world, Tepe. The ruins of this ancient mound, dating back more than 7,000 years, rise from the arid landscape like a silent testament to a civilization long vanished from history. With its elaborate stone architecture and intricate layout, Tepe stands as a reminder of a time when early human societies were forging complex relationships with the land and each other. Yet, despite decades of excavation and study, the site's purpose, its builders, and the deeper meaning behind its architecture remain shrouded in mystery. The stone walls of Tepe, now weathered and eroded by time, still evoke a sense of awe. The ancient settlement, which consists of multiple layers of habitation built upon one another, stretches over several acres. The ruins include large stone platforms, walls, and staircases, some of which seem to form a pattern too intricate to be merely coincidental. These stones, some of which are cut with a precision that suggests a level of craftsmanship not typically associated with prehistoric cultures, were arranged with care, as though they were part of a deliberate, grand design. But it is not just the size or craftsmanship of the structures that make Tepe Sialk so intriguing. What stands out is the apparent sophistication of the site, its carefully planned layout, its monumental construction, and the advanced knowledge of engineering it suggests. How could a civilization, existing at such an early point in human history, have possessed such technical know-how? What motivated the builders of Tepe Sialk to construct such an elaborate settlement, and what did they intend to communicate through their stonework? The origins of Tepe Sialk remain unclear, though it is widely believed to have been a thriving urban center for a people known as the Zayande River Civilization, who lived in the region during the Neolithic period, around 5000 BCE. At the time, the region was well suited for agriculture, with fertile soil and access to fresh water from nearby rivers. The people of Tepe Sialk were among the first to develop agriculture in the area, which allowed them to settle and build permanent structures, a crucial step in the development of early cities. Excavations of the site have revealed a wealth of artifacts that offer glimpses into the daily lives of its inhabitants. Pottery fragments, tools, and decorative items suggest a sophisticated culture with a keen understanding of art, craftsmanship, and trade. Evidence of early religious practices has also been uncovered, pointing to a spiritual dimension in the lives of the people who lived here. Temples and altars have been found at the site, suggesting that religious ceremonies may have been an important aspect of life in Tepe Sialk. Despite the clear evidence of early civilization, the purpose of the site itself remains elusive. The stone structures at Tepe Sialk are unlike anything seen at other contemporary sites, making it difficult to compare them to other known ancient cultures. Some of the most enigmatic features of the site include its massive stone platforms, which seem to serve no obvious practical function. These large, flat surfaces are not aligned with the known principles of domestic architecture, raising the question, were they intended for ceremonial purposes, or did they serve some other, unknown role in the society's daily life? One of the most captivating aspects of Tepe Sialk is the intricate stonework that appears throughout the site. Some of the stones are so perfectly cut that they fit together without the use of mortar, a technique that suggests an advanced understanding of both architecture and engineering. Such precision in stone cutting was thought to be a hallmark of later civilizations, such as the Egyptians, leading some to speculate that the builders of Tepe Sialk had access to knowledge or technologies that have since been lost. How did they achieve such precision, and what tools did they use to carve these stones with such skill? The possibility that Tepe Sialk's builders possessed advanced knowledge of architecture and engineering raises a number of intriguing questions. Could they have had access to lost techniques or tools? Perhaps even knowledge from distant lands or from an earlier, unknown civilization? While there is no direct evidence to support these claims, the sheer scale and intricacy of the site suggests that the people of Tepe Sialk were not merely skilled builders, but possessed a sophisticated understanding of their environment. In addition to its striking stone architecture, Tepe Sialk is also known for its relief carvings, intricate symbolic images etched into the stone surfaces. These carvings depict scenes that appear to have both spiritual and social significance. One of the most notable motifs is a series of stylized human figures, often depicted with large, exaggerated eyes, which seem to suggest a connection to spiritual or ritualistic practices. Some researchers have proposed that these figures could represent deities or important cultural figures, perhaps even ancestors, whose influence was thought to continue through ritual worship. There is also the possibility that the reliefs represent something more abstract, perhaps a form of proto-writing or symbolic communication that predates known writing systems. Could the carvings at Tepe Sialk be an early attempt to capture thoughts, beliefs, or stories in visual form? Some theorists speculate that the reliefs could be a kind of early record-keeping, one that might have documented significant events or rituals, though no direct link to written language has yet been found. One particularly strange and speculative theory suggests that Tepe Sialk could be connected to a lost transcultural network, a broader exchange of ideas, technologies, and even people that spanned across ancient civilizations. The advanced stonework, coupled with the symbolic carvings, has led some to question whether Tepe Sialk could have been part of a larger, forgotten network of ancient cities that shared knowledge and techniques. Could the builders of Tepe Sialk have had contact with other distant civilizations, such as those in Mesopotamia or the Indus Valley, whose influences might have made their way to this remote part of the world? Despite the many theories and speculations, there is little consensus on the true purpose of Tepe Sialk, and its deeper meaning remains a mystery. Was it a place of religious significance, a city of early kings or priests, or perhaps something even more profound, an ancient center of knowledge? Could it have served as a hub for ritual practice, a place where the very fabric of society was woven together through religious and social activities? Or is there a deeper truth hidden in its stones, one that may never fully be understood? Tepe Sialk stands as a silent reminder of the sophistication of early human societies. Its stones, arranged with purpose and precision, continue to speak across millennia, inviting us to look deeper into the past, to seek the knowledge that has been lost to time. The mystery of its origins, its purpose, and its creators endures, and as we gaze upon the ruins, we can only wonder what hidden truths lie within the ancient walls of Tepe Sialk waiting to be uncovered.